Welcome back, everyone. We are here again, Justin and I, for the podcast.
That's me.
I've got, yep, that's him. I was gonna leave you in a little bit more, but it's fine. It's fine. Whatever.
When have you ever led me in more? Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. Actually,
This is my show. I should be leading you in.
No, do the honors. Do the honors.
Nah, it's all right. You go ahead.
Okay. So today we have a star-studded cast as always. Unfortunately, this star-studded cast involves exactly two people, me and Justin. But
we are the
life.
stars.
We are the stars, so it don't really matter. We're doing Bad Shows Podcast version 2. Now, you have to understand this has been a very what's the word? Dangerous undertaking from the part of us.
Painful, agonizing.
Yeah. Many a lesser man would be and has been defeated by
we
this
filtered
task.
we filtered a few of them out.
We filtered, Zero, he's too pussy, he's busy doing things that actually matter. Okay, whatever, dude.
That's not true. I've seen his mail history.
Actually correct. And Gavin, he would not sit down and watch a show. Also, he's in Florida, so, that's kind of life. Not exactly the ideal recording environment, what with probably, like, all the, I don't know, bombings that are occurring or something. It's Florida, who knows?
God damn.
I mean, just an uninhabitable wasteland, right? Like, but yeah, we just got Justin and I, and we've got 3 beautiful, horrible shows to talk about here. And, me being the isekai guy, I decided to take the 2 isekais off of Justin's list that seemed horrible.
He's the isekai guy.
The isekai. And, and, I mean, I've definitely watched worse shows than these, but I've definitely watched better. And especially, I've definitely watched better animated shows than these. I mean,
I think the real worst shows are the shows that are just, like, worse than horrible, or better than horrible, but, like, a lot worse than mediocre.
Yeah.
Those are the shows where you just don't feel even, like, you don't have any enjoyment watching them.
I would say both of these, I don't quite feel like that. There were times when both of these where I was like, this is horrible and I wish I did not have to continue. But generally, like, I don't know. The thing with a lot of these, I feel like some of the more recent bad isekai that have been coming out are, like, they're stupid and, like, you can talk about how poorly written they are until you're blue in the face. But, like, they feel just, like, inspired enough in the way that, like, the author clearly had fun writing it and whatnot. And it's not, like, corporate cash grab kind of bullshit to the point where it's like, I give it a pass. It's okay that this exists. Whereas there's some definitely, like, especially around 2015, 2016, when those isekais were getting churned out, that are like, okay, this was made in a corporate boardroom and, like, this guy has never read anything in his entire life.
And they said, like, hey, what are all the kids watching these days? Oh, they love it when they go to that new world and they're just super strong and nothing hurts them. Doesn't afraid of anything.
Yeah. So the 2 I'm talking about definitely share a lot of the same problems, but ultimately, like, save themselves from, like, being, like, a 2 out of 10 or something like that. Just on that, like, every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, these are characters that someone enjoys and had fun with, and, like, I don't hate them. But, there's definitely problems. And, Justin, now what show did I have you watch for today?
This motherfucker made me watch Elfen Lied. And
yep.
Spoiler alert, I didn't like it.
What? Really?
It baffled me. Like, I don't know what was going on when the show came out that people were like, this is the anime. This, like, everyone needs to watch this show.
Yeah.
Like, how desperate were you guys? There's so much good anime that came out before this point, so I don't know what the excuse is here.
Well, to be fair, in, like, 2005, 2006-ish, right? Like, not all of it got imported. Like, a lot of people were forced to just watch off of, like, whatever DVDs got imported or VHS
yeah, I guess
or whatever.
That's true. It wasn't as accessible.
But the thing is, there was still a lot in that category, right? Like, and, Elfen Lied was not that popular in Japan. It was pretty comparatively unpopular, but, like, just popular enough to get it ported. And so, when you're thinking about, like, it only had to be that popular to get ported over, it's like, oh, there was probably a lot of stuff still that came over overseas and whatnot, so. But
yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, I'm like, Elaine came out literally 5 years before that, so it's like, if you actually wanted a good psychological anime, you could watch that.
Yeah, but there's not as much murder in Elfen Lied, or in Lane, so it won't really keep my attention.
But NHK came out like around the same time, I guess. So that's whatever.
Pretty similar time period. Yeah, I mean, there's just plenty of good stuff for sure. But yeah, I specifically wanted you to watch this one because it is such an important show to the Western fandom in that kind of way. It's not anymore. Like within the last 10 years, I wouldn't say people have grown brain cells. Yeah, I wouldn't say people have grown brain cells, but I would say it's become not important, and that's arguably for better and for worse. There's some popular stuff that's still really bad these days, but
I wonder what Pokecall is referring to.
Oh, a lot of things. But yeah, Elfen Lied was, I mean, even when I was getting really big into, like, I'm watching anime now in, like, 2012-ish, right? Like, this was still a show people were like, I mean, I remember seeing lists that were like, you're not a real anime fan if you haven't seen Death Note, Code Geass, Elfen Lied, right? Where it's like, these are like the smart psychological.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh.
I feel, to be entirely honest, I feel like Elfen Lied is a show that tries to act smart and present itself as, like, smart, but it just isn't.
Yeah.
Whereas the other two, really, I don't think they try to present themselves as that smart. Death Note, maybe, but, like, it's a little over the top at times, but really they just feel like they're trying to tell their story. But Elfen Lied's like, we put in classical music, we put in, like, ancient paintings, we titled our episodes in German. It's like, how fucking full of yourself are you, man? Come on. This is a show about fucking incest.
To be fair, a lot of that stuff is stuff that was added into the anime and not present in the manga. I mean, because right in the manga, it's called Elfen Lied. The main, like, song is a song called Elfen Lied, which is decidedly not Lilium, the one that they play constantly throughout the show, which is very funny, right? But also was a good change because, like, thematically the song Elfen Lied is just like, it's just like completely irrelevant to any of the subject matter. Even tonally, it's just like goofy and silly. And it's like, oh my god, it's so touching, like Elfen Lied, like, and it's like, what? But yeah, definitely there's some stuff like that they definitely added in the anime to make it look smarter, which is very funny. But
I feel I could say I almost feel like this would be a show where if it wasn't like there weren't so many obvious flaws to it, it'd be one of those shows that people be like, this is a really smart show, guys, trust me.
Oh yeah. If there just wasn't quite as much piss, maybe you could pretend it was smart.
Yeah, that's like they're trying to argue on Twitter and they're like, oh well, the piss, yeah, you're kind of right there,
I mean, you got me there, man. You got me there.
Other shows that got pissed, Prison School, that show is smarter than this show.
Oh, absolutely. That show is significantly smarter.
Gakuto might be one of the best written characters of our generation.
He's so fucking raw. Holy. Yeah, it's funny, this show in general, but we've given enough pre-ramble. First, I would like to we'll go in order here. I want to talk about one of my shows, and then we'll cut to you, and you'll talk about Elfen Lied, and I'll talk about the other show I watched.
All right, sounds good.
And the first one
I
want to talk about.
You talked about your history of that show. The show you watched, I literally don't remember watching it.
Which one?
Dude, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
How Not to Summon a Demon Lord?
Yeah. So there were so many shows I just watched when I was like dead bored, and I'm just like, whatever. This show, there's probably gonna be boobies or something in it.
It's in a video game. That's kind of cool. He got a sword.
I was like, isekai, those are sometimes fun, brain rot, whatever. So I just watched it, and I don't remember. In fact, I forgot I had watched it until it came up on Anime Music Quiz when we were playing again. Everyone's like, why'd you watch this show? I'm like, I don't know.
Why'd you watch this? No, I didn't. What?
I was like, dude, I think I erased it. I don't know. But
that's
yeah, I don't even remember enough about it to say what I disliked. I just didn't like it, so.
Ignore me typing timestamps in the chat. So Yeah, the first show I watched was How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, which I took stuff off of Justin's list that he. I don't think you completed either of the shows that I watched, but
I don't know.
Or
I
did
think I
you complete How
marked
Not to
them.
Summon a Demon Lord?
Maybe I did. I don't know. Let me look.
I saw you watched 8 episodes of the other one I'm going to talk about, but
Yeah, I
for
did
this
drop
one,
that one.
yeah, understandable to be honest.
Let me go scroll to the bottom of my list real quick. Hold on. How not to summon a demon lord. What did I even give this show? Probably a 4.
I gave this a 3. Spoilers.
Hold on, I gotta rate it or sort it by score.
He will never find it sorted by score.
You got a lot of shows, man. 4? Is it 4? Is it 3? Oh no, I gave it a 2. Okay.
Ooh, understandable.
So, yeah.
Did you finish it then?
It looks like it. I marked it as finished, so.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this was definitely a show that I have watched, is a good way of putting it, I would say. But, so we got How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Now, I'm going to tell you, they summon a Demon Lord. It's crazy.
And they weren't supposed to.
They weren't supposed to. The main plot of this is, of course, like, main character guy, he's a loner who plays this Japanese MMORPG called Cross Reverie, or whatever the fuck. And he's the best player at the MMO, and he plays a bad guy. He plays the Demon Lord guy, who named Diablo, who he is the strongest, and he doesn't afraid of anything.
Like all my favorite protagonists.
Yeah, so he's just completely invincible in this game. So pretty cool. He gets isekai'd because these two girls, Shara, who's a big titty elf, and Rem, who is a blue-haired mate. Oh wait, no, little wolf girl.
I forgot her name was Rem.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking at the Bell page right now, and the memories are coming flooding back.
Rem Galu.
God damn it, man! I can never escape the ReZero allegations.
And Shara L. Greenwood. I mean, they always just nail it with these elf names. Elf, your name has to do with a forest now. I'm sorry.
Literally Greenwood.
Like, not
one
Sonic attempt
stage
was made. Oh shit, I think you're right. So the first episode is those two, Rem and Shara. They are trying to summon a demon lord or something to help them fight for some reason, to accomplish something that I don't really know if it gets specified on, but they're like, we gotta summon a guy for help.
There's a sequel?
Yeah, there is. I saw it has 6 episodes. I only found that out just today.
It says 10 on here.
Oh, it says 6 on a different website. Okay, interesting.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I feel this way about both of these shows. Both of these shows that I watched have a season 2, and both of them, like, why do they have a season 2? Why is there any more than where they ended? Like, this is, like, the perfect conclusion of the series. I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait to meet a bigger bad guy who actually is running. But they summon Diablo, and he gets isekai'd through his damn computer screen, and brought into this world as his character from Cross Reverie, so he can be stupidly powerful or whatever. And he looks ridiculous. It's very funny. But
his design is probably one of the better parts of the shows. It's pretty funny.
It is quite funny. It is quite funny. They isekai him, and so when you summon a guy like that, the whole point is, like, you're going to use them for whatever in battle, and so you want them to be loyal to you. So it summons them with, like, a collar and, like, slave. It basically turns them into a slave, right? So you can control them. But he's so strong, and he has a magic reflecting ability thing, and so when they summon him, he enslaves them. Everyone clap. That's so funny. Are you clapping yet?
I am.
Are you laughing? Yeah. And so they're like, what the heck? I'm not supposed to be a slave. And they bicker like this, and it's very unfunny. But yeah, that's basically the premise. He's summoned, and they're now his slaves, I guess, and they're gonna go do stuff.
600,000 members on Mal, huh?
That is so many people. It's funny, though, because looking at, like, the characters page, like, there's, like, no favorites. Like, the main character has not even 900 people on his favorites list.
670,000 members, 2,000 favorites.
Like, Nobody is under the impression this is a masterpiece. Very funny. So that's basically all of episode 1, except for like, I guess it sets up more of the main plot in episode 1, where it's like, they go into the big town, and the big town has a guild, and they meet with the one lady. She's like, I run the guild, and also I have a magical barrier over the whole town that I make, because I'm a magic person, and it protects the whole town from the big bads, which are called the Fallen, which are monsters that want to revive the bad demon lord, and that's not good, and they kill humans. And it's like, wow, okay. And so we learn about that, and I didn't realize that even in episode 1 they revealed the main plot point of like, Rem technically harbors the evil demon lord Krebskulm inside her body ever since she was born. That's like her inherited thing from her parents. Like, her entire family line just has that, right?
Imagine that's the gift you get from your parents. You got a demon.
That's pretty not good. And so she's got this whole complex of like, I want to be an adventurer and go help people and help the town and help the guild who helped me out a lot. But I'm like kind of strong, but not strong enough. And people call her really hard because, if she goes out and she dies, it probably revives the demon lord, which is not very good. So like, okay. So we've got to protect the girl. Maybe cure her, ? She seems pretty upset about it. Diablo does say he'll help her and whatnot. And we got to protect the lady who protects the barrier for the city, yada yada. He also fights, like, in episode 1 is the first of many goofy fight scenes where he just, like, the lady who makes the barrier, Celestine is her name. She has a lackey named Gallic, who is just like, I don't like Diablo. He's probably a fallen. He's evil. Brr, 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 brr. He looks stupid. I mean, like, true, right? But like,
you don't gotta say it to his face. Come on, man.
Sorry. And so, in typical, like, in these isekais, it's always like, episode 1, I don't like this guy. And then he's like, you don't like me? Well, you tried to do something stupid to me, now I'm gonna kill you, or now I'm gonna beat you up really bad. You didn't realize I was super powerful. Has to happen in episode 1 of these shows, I swear to God.
So true.
It's so funny. But yeah, the dude summons a salamander in the middle of fucking town, and is just like, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm level 100,777, blah blah blah, blows it away. Super easy. Yeah, it's pretty funny. And so episode 2 is like, we set up more stuff. Gallic gets fired, which is pretty funny. He sets up one more stupid scheme where it's like, they meet the elves, and the elves are like, oh my god, Cher's a princess, and they want her to come home, but she doesn't want to come home because her brother wants to impregnate her and have her bear a child.
I'm starting to see a theme in the shows we watched today.
I don't like that.
I do not like that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what goes on in elf culture, but that seems a little weird to me.
It seems a little much. I mean, those elves must be mighty inbred by now, right? Like, maybe that's why they're all so
Actually,
dumb.
they're inwood, so.
Nah. But he sets up, like, an ambush where the elves are gonna, like, beat up Diablo because they told him that, they kidnapped Cher or whatever, brainwashing her, some stupid shit. But he beats them all because they're just a bunch of random fucking elves. And he's like god of the new world basically already. And so...
In episode 2, wow.
Yeah, that's episode 2. And then so 3 is finally... Gallic gets yelled at by Celestine. She's like, you put a lot of people in a lot of danger. I'll have you think about your actions, mister. You're fired. And he's like, no! How could this be? And so... of course, in his coping, he makes a deal with the enemy Fallen and bullshit. And so episode 3 is like this big deal of like, he basically lets one of the big powerful Fallen in through the barrier while Diablo is away by killing himself with a knife. Okay. Yeah, and so the episode's like basically a bunch of people trying to fend that guy off until buying time for Diablo to arrive before he can kill Celestine and break the barrier, and then the whole town gets sieged, yada yada. in the episode before, it doesn't say it anywhere in like episode summaries or anything. Probably because it's largely irrelevant. They introduced this character, Emil. He's like this blonde-haired knight guy who's really goofy looking. I swear there's a blonde-haired, like, wearing gold armor knight guy in, like, every fantasy story.
And he's always, like, the nice fucking dude.
Well, it's either he's very nice dude, or he's the guy who's a rich kid show-off, and he sucks, actually, is the entire conceit of his character.
There's the blonde dude in Konosuba, who was that, or he's, like, he
right.
had the special sword. The blonde dude in Solo Leveling with the armor.
Oh, I forgot about him.
His brother, or whatever.
Yep. And in Eminence and Shadow, they got the one, the blonde,
what his friend.
He was never known defeat because he just forfeits every time he sees someone who's going to be too strong.
He knows his place, man. What can I say? He's on the gristle.
Yeah. I can't lie. That character is also very funny because, like, he's actually pretty good, right? For the power level of the world. He's, like, pretty good. But if there's someone stronger, he'll just forfeit. Like, that's life, man.
No risks taken.
And he cons fucking Skell, the fucking Sora VA guy, out of all of his money. He's like, I cannot possibly lose. I can see his power level with my eyes.
I love Sora's voice actors in so many animes, and he always does so good.
He's so fucking based, yeah. His voice acting is so good. So, yeah, we introduced this Emil character, and he, like, they meet him at the guild, and he's kind of a dick right away, because he doesn't trust Diablo or something, and then because he's like, I'm the strongest of this entire adventure guild, and I'm a cool, big, strong guy. And he is kind of strong, but he loses to Diablo pretty bad. And, like, some random sparring thing they do. I don't even remember. I feel like something goofy happened, but I literally don't remember what happened. But immediately after that, he's like, oh, I think he thinks that he has them captive under, like, against their will, on account of the slave collars. I feel like
I've heard this exact theme before in another show. Oh yeah. Rise of the Shield Hero.
Yeah.
Which one does it better? I don't know, honestly.
What is the point of these, like...
I don't get what they're trying to go for. Like, oh, these people make, like, probably reasonable assumptions if you're just carrying around fucking people in collars with you. Like,
right.
Like, oh, you idiot. You don't know he actually treats them nicely. It's like, what the fuck are they supposed to think, man? Come on.
Yeah, like... But then it's always like, no, it's their fault because he explained that to them and they still didn't believe him. And now they're totally the bad guys. And it's like, but, okay, man. Okay, sure. It's like for this dual purpose of like, oh, you get to be the guy who has all the hot girls as slaves, but also you can't feel bad about it. They chose it, basically.
They're like, oh, in case you had, like, any second thoughts, we'll make you feel better about it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Like, oh my god.
It's so fucking stupid, man.
But after the fight and whatnot, he realizes that he was telling the truth or whatever, and he's like, just instantly becomes a good guy, and he's like kind of a cool, goofy guy now. And I'm like, oh, I like this guy. He's kind of raw. And so when the big demon gets summoned to inside the barrier, and Diablo's away fighting an army of fallen attacking somewhere else as like a diversion, basically. Basically all the adventurers in the town decide to fight and try and protect Celestine, so that the whole barrier doesn't get killed and they all possibly die to fallen invasion. Emil is one of the people who helps them and is an adventurer that helps fight the guy, but the guy is like beyond strong, and basically everybody but him dies out of these adventurers, and it's like shown as this like protracted struggle that I actually kind of liked a little bit. And he's like, it's like, wow, this guy's actually got some grit. He's getting really fucked up. Like, he will die soon. Meanwhile, Diablo is like taking his time, basically fighting this fucking army of fallen and whatnot. He's fighting their commander, Edelgard.
They just be recycling character names in this show. Hold on. Even though this definitely came out, I think, before Three Houses.
It's pretty close. 2018. I mean, okay, the light novel, visual novel, or not visual.
Oh, true,
the web novel definitely was probably earlier. Yeah,
I'm sure they're both great characters too.
Oh yeah, bud. Yeah. He's fighting her. I like her character design a lot, and she has like that. They do a good job of showing her being like she's a fallen. She's like kind of a different race and whatnot. She speaks kind of weirdly and like, what's the word? Like very pointedly, like, ah, yes, okay, like that kind of thing. I was like, oh, yeah, succinct. That's a good word. And I was like, okay, sure. They have a kind of sort of cool fight, not really. And then
every time you're like, yeah, this was sort of cool. Nah, not really.
Yeah. And then while they're fighting, they get word and like, oh, the capital is being sieged by a fallen. And I was like, oh my god, how'd they get in through the barrier? I don't know, but he's fucking killing everybody, basically. And then Diablo's like, oh fuck, I gotta stop fucking around. And he just leashes and just fucking hand laser nukes like this entire battlefield. Like, it is actually nuts. He's just like, oh shit, I gotta be done, guys. And just laser kills all of the fallen, because it's just a giant laser in this whole line. And Edelgard barely survives, and he's like, wow, you're pretty powerful. And she's like, wow, you're pretty powerful, jeez. And she just leaves. She's like, well, I've bought enough time, probably. I would like to point out the line in this episode summary that I'm looking at to make sure I don't forget anything. Where is the line? Diablo fires a massive spell called White Nova that erases the fallen army and most of the land, but to Diablo's amazement, Edelgard is only left naked and is mostly unharmed. She acknowledges him as Demon Lord. Thanks for writing it like that, guys. I really...
I had to mention the naked part.
Well, I mean... it's an important part, clearly.
For this show, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay, that happens. Bridge defended good enough, I guess. And she teleports back to the city with Shara, just in time to see Emil almost being killed. And so he's all hella pissed about it. Everybody's really fucked up, and he's like, he does the typical in these power fantasy isekais where it's like, oh, now I'm here, and you thought you were the cool guy. Now I'm the cool guy, and I'm gonna kill you and humiliate you and make you beg for mercy and then kill you, kind of thing. And it's like, wow, that's so cool. He uses the gravity spell the guy uses, but he uses it, but it's much stronger, and so he's lose to his own spell. Oh my god. Yeah. Really, really cool fight. So after this, we get into... And is any of this ringing any bells for you, Justin? I gotta know.
Yes. I definitely remember these episode summaries, but nothing was good enough to stick, so yeah.
Yeah, I watched this probably like 4 months ago, maybe. So it's... The episode summaries are helping, I'll just say that.
It was just it was just so cookie cutter. Like, this is...
Yeah.
If you think of power fantasy isekai, it's just what you get. So it's like every episode plays what you'd think it'd play like.
Yeah, pretty much. I will say for the show, though, one of the things I do like about it is the art direction. I mostly found pretty good. Like, the character models are kind of, like, more loose and less rigid than, like...
Yeah. Like, art-wise, the show really isn't that bad compared. Like, there are some really bad fucking isekais art-wise, like Smartphone.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely some of those that we may or may not be talking about in a few minutes.
I remember the art being at least like, okay, this is like, I can look at this and not be mad every minute while I'm watching this, so...
Right, exactly. I mean, it's very loose, and, like, the color palettes are pretty good. I like how everything is, like, kind of bright, but there's a lot of contrast still within that brightness. It's kind of hard to describe, but when you see, like, the main three characters, like Rem, Shara, and Diablo next to each other, it's like, the color palette looks really nice and very distinct, so... It is visually much more entertaining than a lot of other isekai, even if the animation isn't, like, particularly good within that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is the part that I basically forgot. This whole next arc is like, we've beaten back the fallen guys for now. This next arc is like the elf stuff happening arc, right? And so we've got like, Diablo goes back to the city, and the guild people running everything are like, wow, good job, guys. That was pretty cool. And the head honcho, who is the lord of the city, Chester Ray Galford. Why is his name Chester? He's like, the elves want Cher to go back to their country and whatnot because she's the princess, and the prince is basically the king right now. And they were like, well, if you don't return her within 10 days, we'll start a war. And Chester's like, well, you better not start a war. Which is like, oh, thanks for the help, man. I appreciate that one. Don't worry, he's got ulterior motives. And so there's this whole stupid fucking thing. They're talking about, like, how do we remove the collars for the slave trader in the next episode? And it's like, oh, you have to put, the master has to put the magic in the... It's a really cringy fan service scene, basically. And they don't get through it because he's too embarrassed. Yep.
That shit was so bad.
It's very, very bad. But then the elf people come back, and her brother, by the way, who is basically the king of the elves right now, Kira, Keera.
I was gonna say,
he he's in town. He's always doing this facade of like, I'm a nice guy. I just want my sister to return. I don't want to do anything bad. But actually, every time all the other characters are off screen, he makes a crazy person smile, and he's gonna do something evil, and it's like, holy fuck, man. So his whole master plan is, he knows Cher doesn't want to come because, he wants to impregnate her with their child, which is pretty disagreeable, I would say.
Yeah, a little out of pocket.
Yeah, only a lot of it out of pocket. Jesus Christ. And so he's like, are you sure you don't want to come back? And makes her say it 1 billion times. And then his plan is, but then the next time he asks, in between then, he keeps playing this magical flute, and eventually the magical flute will brainwash her. And then she'll say yes. And, well, it's of her own free will. Now she'll really come. And so Diablo will just be stupid enough to let her. And that's what happens. He does funny little flute brainwashing, and she says, no, it's okay. I'll go with them. And he's like, instead of, wow, something must be going wrong here, because she just told me 13 minutes ago that she would never, ever go. He goes, wow, I've been betrayed again. I can't believe it. All my friends used to abandon me in my past life, too. Everyone is so fickle. Really masterful characterization there, I would say.
That's one of that goes in the fucking soul leveling collage Gavin made. It's only natural to betray me. I'm weak.
It's so funny. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it takes the convincing of Rem and this new character we have, Alicia, who is like another one of the knights or whatever. She's got red hair and she has a pretty goofy design. I don't really like her design very much, to be honest. But she's like, they're like, hey, I think she's probably been brainwashed, bro. And, after a lot of convincing, he's like, wow, that kind of makes sense on account of everything else. And so they go into the fucking forest, and like they barely stop him in time. And he's like, well, you're so powerful, I can't beat you, but you know who can beat you? I'm gonna summon a giant calamity monster that will kill everyone, probably. And everyone's like, hey, buddy, you really shouldn't do this. I mean, it's really not a good idea. You will probably kill every single elf here. And he's like, oh, but I gotta beat him. And so he summons this thing called a Forest Hydra. It's like a 5-headed monster, I believe. And I think it's got like different elements and shit. And the thing is, it just regenerates a bunch really fast. So it's like, wow, you can't even beat it. Oh my god. And that's how the episode ends. And so start of the next episode, he beats the monster, right?
Whoa! Let's not get too crazy now.
Because he kills all of it at once. He burns it all alive at once, so it doesn't have time to regenerate. Wow. Okay. And so they beat all the elves, and they beat the crazy elf prince king guy. And
I wish these shows weren't so lazy with like monsters. Like, if you're making an isekai, I feel like you could at least have some fun designing new monsters and creatures, but they just recycle the same old fantasy shit that's been used for 10,000 years.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this is just another, like, it would be so easy to turn this into a watchable show that I would be like, yeah, this is a 6 out of 10, as long as you, like, you don't even really have to
fan service, yeah.
Right. you really don't even have to fix the plot. The plot's not that bad. Like, it's absolutely bare minimum, like, storytelling. But
Yeah, it
it's,
just feels
like,
very uninspired.
fine. Yeah. It's, like, fine, but if you just fixed the fights and made them watchable, like, this would be a watchable show, right? Like, but the problem is all these shows, like, no interesting power system whatsoever. All the fights are just, my power level is 100,000 and your power level is 20. Die.
Yeah, there's no nuance
or just
to
really
it.
stupid shit where it's like, oh my god, this bad guy's got a spell and it's like a bewitching spell or something. It's like, how does that interact with like his defense stats and stuff? Like, is he immune to it? Does he get like hit by it a little bit? Like, what? Just add some tension, and it's like, oh right, he has the thing where it just reflects magic, and it's like, oh, there's just no cap on like what it just reflects.
It just beats everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like, I always think of like JoJo in terms of like JoJo has pretty limited animation, especially in like part 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the fights are still really good because they're like tactical fights, right? And that's the kind of stuff you can do despite any budget limitations, basically, where it's like you have the two characters just fucking standing there talking at each other, but you make it a cool fight because there's all this complex interplay of the powers going on.
Yeah,
you can
because
make
of the
a
power,
system,
because of the setting,
right?
like how they how the powers interact with each other, because they have very like clearly defined, like, this is what they do. Oh, how will it interact with this stand? You know?
Yeah, right, yeah. And it's like, you can do this, but like, I'm not asking every fucking power system for every jerk-off isekai to be like fucking, it's gotta be stands where it's like this really complex, where it's gotta be like this crazy complex interplay of powers and like a really well not really well-defined, but a really well-thought-out system, right?
Yeah.
But like, if you just had a little bit of that, like, you just have to do like, add a fucking element, light beats dark and dark beats thunder and yada yada, and so it's like,
I think,
and every character can only have 2, and then you do some complex shit with that, right? Like,
yeah, like, I don't mind like blatantly overpowered or broken protagonists when they're overpowered or broken in interesting ways that aren't just
right.
Yeah, they just beat everything. Like,
Yeah,
Rudius, I mean, you know, we talked a lot about Mushoku Tensei. Like, his the thing that makes him really strong was his ability to learn early on. Like, he's not just like, oh, you know, he's just got the best powers. It's like he earned shit, and then it was really strong because he worked hard, and it's like it still has very clear limitations, but he just works around them.
right. And like, they make him interesting because in that setting, like, almost every magic person is a fucking squishy little bitch, but he's got like advanced-ish level swordsmanship to where it's like he is like, you know, he fights people who are really strong, and they're like, whoa, why are you like keeping up with how fast I'm running, like, you know, stuff like that, or like,
right,
dang, you have a lot of stamina for a magician, and it's like, that's like one of his unique strengths, right? But then it's like he has like a clearly defined weakness in that he can't control Toki at all. So it's like, despite having like this physical prowess, he is maybe squishier physically than an advanced level swordsman, right? And so it's like, he gets some of the interesting pros and some of the interesting cons, right?
Yeah, I mean, like your other options being stuff like One Punch Man, where you use the character as like a foil to develop other characters.
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that. I don't know. I think there are very clear like shows that it works well with, and I wish shows would look at that and realize it's way more interesting than just, they are very strong. It is cool.
Yeah, pretty much. It's yeah, it's tough. And so just like, if you just had a very basic strategic element to some of these fights, you can still have it be like, main character is just way stronger in some ways and he just ends up winning all the fights. But like, if there's just this basic strategic element that makes the fights worth watching at all, like, good enough, right? Like, that's, you can make a 5 or a 6 out of 10 show like that, right? Like, it's fine. But instead, you just have these overlord fucking fight fest where it's just level 100, you're level 50. Die.
We stare at each other. You try. Your magic, puny, horrible, sucks. My magic, based, go.
Raw
peak fiction.
Yeah, they're just so simplistic. And then when you add into that, most of these shows look horrible. This one looks a little bit better than most of the other random isekai, but like, when you have onto that, it's like, why am I watching during
and they just like, they never play with settings either. I don't know why. Like,
yeah,
You can make whatever environments you want for interesting fights, but you just don't. You don't care.
Yeah, it's so goofy. But yeah, and so that whole elf arc happens, yada yada. And the thing is, in a very baffling decision, after they beat all the elves, Shara is like, "Hey, please don't kill my brother. He's like not a good guy, but I don't. He shouldn't die." And I'm like, I think he should probably die, but that's it's a matter of opinion, I guess. Really,
he only wanted to impregnate you. Whatever, man.
Yeah, and kill all of your friends, but somewhere deep down, right? Never mind. Doesn't matter.
I bet somewhere deep down.
Yeah. Doesn't matter because as they've beaten everyone, Chester and all the rest of like the guild, town, whatever forces arrive, and he cuts his head off. He just cuts the prince's head off as he's entering, and he's like, "No, you can't leave them alive." And they just start like committing war crimes on these elves who they've already tied up and beaten. And then so Diablos is like, "Hey, bro, that was kind of not cool. Like, kind of stupid that she would request that, but maybe we should have like thought about it at least, right?" Like, and he's like, "Well, you see, I actually want to start a war with the elves so that we can invade and take over their land. What happened to we don't want a war? So whatever you gotta do." I guess maybe he just wanted to push tensions. Why didn't he just tell them, "Yeah, whatever, don't return her, bro. We'll just go kill them all." Like, whatever, man. Okay. And so Diablo is like, "Well, I guess we gotta fight then, because, most of the elves weren't bad. They were just being led by the bad guy." And so they fight. This is maybe the closest fight in the series. Like, Chester's pretty fucking strong, dude. I don't know. They have a pretty close fight, and Diablo barely wins it. And he's like, "Fine, I guess I'll leave." And Alicia is like, "I'll report you to the king if you don't be on your best behavior, mister." And he's like, "Okay." It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But now we get into the final arc. This is one of the arcs that I actually remember. Probably because it's the last part that happens. The final arc is basically, well, it's the end of the Demon Lord show, and they have the big bad Demon Lord. Of course he's got to get resurrected, right? Like, what else could happen? So, what happens is, they go back, they're resolving everything. The guild or the paladin or whoever runs the fucking town, I don't know, whoever works for Chester, they bring in this paladin guy, and his name is fucking, where is his name? Sadler. I don't know why they named him that. That is not a name, but okay.
Sadler?
Sadler, yeah. Saddler. I feel like that's actually a name, but you just spell it differently, but sure. Whatever, man. So he's like, his whole gimmick is, "I am crazy guy who is a paladin, and I worship God, and all the other people are infidels." Very complex and interesting character arc that you've seen in a lot of shows, probably. And so the whole thing is, they meet up with Edelgard, and she's like, "Look, we're not evil. We just want to resurrect the Demon Lord. And if she kills you all, then look, get owned, kid." And so they make a deal with with Edelgard, and she's like, "We can summon the Demon Lord from her without killing her, but it will summon the Demon Lord, which is what we want." And Diablo is like, "Well, that's what I want, because she will be free from the Demon Lord, and I will just kill the Demon Lord." And so it's like, okay, we have like a what will happen going on kind of thing. They do a bunch of dumb shit, and they summon the Demon Lord. Through a process that, remember how we said you have to input like the magical energy or whatever bullshit? Well, this line says, "Edelgard explains Diablo must pour his magical energy into Rem through her vagina to release Crepuscule." That is what it says on the wiki. No. And that is what occurs.
God damn it, man.
A rather intense scene, of course. A lot of emotions going on.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bricked up were
you? No.
Oh, shit.
So they summon the fucking Demon Lord, and the Demon Lord, oh my god, it's a demon, but then it transforms into a little girl, and it's like, oh my god, she has amnesia and has lost her memories, and they kind of like reason with her a little bit, like she's like, oh yeah, I'm a demon lord. I gotta like kill the bad guys and stuff. And they're like, whoa, hold on. Who's saying that? Who's saying you gotta do all that? And she's like, yeah, who is saying I gotta do all that? You're so right. And so she's basically just like a little kid that's a good guy. And they're like, wow, that's awesome. And Edelgard, all the other demon fallen, whatever, they're all kind of like, that's not quite right, I would say. Something is not correct here. But, Edelgard is like, well, whatever, at the end of the day, I mean, we got the Demon Lord, and that's what we wanted in the first place, and I mean, I guess if she doesn't want to do anything, she don't gotta do anything, that's fine, I guess. So she's, like, kind of on their side. They have to kill a couple other, like, Elder Fallen that are like, no, the Demon Lord, I'll make her kill people. And they're like, well, stop it. And then they kill them. But so we're like, wow, I guess the show is just over? I mean, I guess that's the end of the tension, right? Like, also, I forgot to mention that in the episode where they introduce Sadler, he also gets fucking blown away and eviscerated in that same episode. Because he tries to beat up Rem and them, and he's way stronger than them. But then Diablo shows up, and he's like, whatever, Diablo, I will turn you into stone. And then he reflects his I will turn you into stone, and turns him into stone. Riveting.
Wow.
It just reflects everything. I got a force field.
It reflects everything.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And so, we have all the fall, like most of the fallen at this point are like, okay, I guess that's what's going on. I guess we're not really killing humans anymore, kind of thing. And it seems like everything's resolved. But, similar to that image, isn't there someone you forgot to ask of Jesus? Isn't there someone you forgot to ask? Alicia is like, no, secretly, more than anyone, I wanted the Demon Lord to kill everybody. And so Sadler gets, like, unturned to stone, and she sets up a scheme to have Rem and the demon girl, Kleboskim, whatever, they call her Clem now when she's just a little girl. They have them kidnapped, and Sadler tortures Rem in front of her to try to traumatize her into becoming the big bad demon lord and killing all the people. Which occurs, and Rem looks like she's gonna die, but of course she doesn't die. And Clem turns into the big bad. Show. Yeah, and Clem turns into the big bad demon lord, and she's like, "Yes, oh yay!" And then she's gonna kill everybody because she's really upset because she thinks Rem is dead. And then the final episode is her and Diablo fighting, and Diablo is, basically the whole conceit of this fight is like he has to last long enough to set up these like 7 or whatever points to trap her in this giant magic spell. And he does that, barely survives, and unleashes the spell. It defeats her in the Demon Lord. She turns back into the little girl form, and everything's resolved. Yay. And so, in the process of that, Edelgard has to take a bunch of hits for Alicia or some shit like that, and is, like, going to die. And after everything's resolved, Alicia takes Edelgard to Clem and Diablo and all them, and she's like, I know you guys hate me, but please, Demon Lord, heal Edelgard, because she's a fallen, she can heal them, because she's the Demon Lord. She's like, save her life, it was me who did the bad stuff. And she's like, I mean, sure, that's fine. And then she's like, okay, now will you kill me because I am evil, clearly, I have done bad things. And everybody's like, yeah, why would you do bad things? That was really stupid. And she's like, you don't understand, ever since I was a little kid, everybody did horrible things to me, and so that's why I wanted to get revenge and kill everybody. And they're all like, wow, that's really stupid. You should be a good person now. You should find something else to live for. And so she decides not to kill herself, and then the show ends. Yay.
Woo! How not to summon a demon lord.
How not to summon a demon lord. I can't believe they make a season 2. Why? So Justin, what are your overall thoughts of this show?
Of the bits I remember, I mean, I think I kind of made it clear. I think the combat is really shitty in that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what's the fun in having overpowered characters if you're not even going to make the fights interesting, man? I don't know.
Right, yeah.
It's just like, at that point, it's just power fantasy shit. I don't know.
Right. And
like there's no, I don't know.
Like, if you could make the overarching emotional, like, plot good enough and, like, limit the main character enough to where it's, like, there's a sense in Mushoku Tensei where it's, like, Rudeus is very powerful and he can solve a lot of the problems in a lot of countries, but he can't be everywhere at once, and everybody else around him is decidedly fragile, and even he is decidedly fragile, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this kind of realistic world of like, he's just trying to do what he can do, and there's a lot of stuff going on. That's one way you can make like a very strong character like balance. But this is like, there's one place he's got to be, and he can teleport, right? Like, and he can basically bring people back from the dead. Like they're like bleeding out for fucking 30 minutes, and he arrives and is like, "Wamp, okay, you're good now." Like,
yeah,
it's just goofy.
I don't know. I gave it a 2. If I watched it again, maybe I wouldn't be as annoyed. But
yeah, I gave it a 3. Like I was talking about earlier, it felt a little bit like genuine. Like, I think the author had fun writing the characters probably, and some of the characters, like Shara comes off as like a very convincingly airheaded and goofy character who's kind of fun. Rem is like kind of angsty in the way that actually makes her a little bit like sympathetic, And Diablo, like there's that, I forgot we didn't even mention this, and this is like one of the main conceits. One of the big things is that he has horrible anxiety, and so he can't like straightforwardly ask people for things, but he can do it through
like
his
fucks up a lot of his sentences and stuff, right?
Yeah, but he can do it if he's putting on like a Diablo persona, right, where he's like, how would a demon lord handle this? I shouldn't have to ask you, you should like stuff like that. And so like in the last arc, one of the things he does is like, I forget if I don't think he actually overcomes it. I think he just like has people who understand him well enough at this point that like one of the kids is just like, yeah, I got you, bro. We'll do this, and everybody helps out, yada yada. But there's that bit. Not very good, I would say. That bit, it could be better. It's kind of funny, but it definitely could be done better.
Yeah, like I think most of the comedy revolving around Diablo is pretty passable. Like, some of it was a little funny. It wasn't like, oh my god, get this fucking guy off the screen at least.
Right,
so.
Yeah. Passable comedy is so much better than comedy in most stuff, man. It's like, there's so much comedy in shows like this that are just like, actually shoot me, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like very okay. But yeah, I was going between a 3 or a 4 because ultimately, like, the characters, I cared about them a little bit for sure. And I thought like the show looks kind of decent, and that the plot isn't very good, but there were just like little tidbits that I liked. But ultimately, it's like I would never watch this again, right? Like, I can't justify a 4. It's just there's too much wrong, right? But
I tried to erase it from my mind, so
yeah, pretty much. Well, that's how not to summon a demon lord. Now,
did you learn how to not summon a demon lord? I hope so.
I don't really know what they could have done better. Maybe the mistake was trying to summon one in the first place.
You probably shouldn't have summoned the one that can reflect all magic. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you forgot. I have the reflect magic button. It reflects magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that took entirely too long. Let's get into Elfen Lied.
Oh boy. I'm not going to give an episode by episode summary because
right.
Largely not enough going on for that, I feel. So
yeah.
I guess so. I literally had never watched anything or seen any of this show before. All I knew is like, a lot of people have watched this show and be like, this is a show you should watch if you're an anime fan. So I really didn't know what to expect. But it became very clear after the first 5 minutes of the show, where it was just her fucking murdering a lot of people.
Woo, blood. Woo.
Yeah.
Whoopee.
I don't know. Some people, do people think that's a good opening episode or what? I don't know.
Yes, people genuinely think that opening scene is very interesting.
Sure.
And okay, specifically the scene of her breaking out of the lab, right? There's some good shot composition in some of those shots, and it's kind of interesting in some ways, but largely it's not very. People give it a little bit much credit.
One of the first things I remember is this secretary that comes running in. She goes, "Oh, whoops! I tripped. I'm so clumsy." And then she stands up and gets cut in half immediately. And I go, "Well, that's tough."
See, but if you were 12, you would have went, "Oh my god, what the heck? No way! Oh my god!" So
Yeah, and I mean they try to hide, I guess, her powers at first. I don't know if I'd say hide. They just don't show what's really happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
They're invisible arms, bro. How can you even? I feel okay. I'm gonna say
I got a lot to say on that. I'll tell you that. But
I'm gonna say I think in terms of invisible powers, arms specifically might be the least interesting fucking one because it's literally just anything but invisible. Like it can do anything, rather than like, what if you had something interesting invisible? Like you could only shoot like a shape, or it was like a spear, or like something that like, if you knew it existed but it was invincible, maybe there was actually some interplay around it being invisible. This is just it kills people instantly and also can grab things and do anything.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say about the power. Where I think, because I think I brought this up. Like I was like, oh my god, this is the fucking unseen hands from ReZero, like,
right?
Betelgeuse's. But like the interesting actual combat applications of that, especially, I think the scene was really cool with that, where they use the spirits to give, like, I think it was Julius's like vision through Subaru's eyes, because he could actually see them, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
Like there's clear counterplay to him, because it's like, oh, Subaru can see them, and so he can like assist, or like, hey, they threw dust at them and then it like outlined them and now they can see them, like shit like that.
Wow.
But here it's just like, they're just invisible. You know, I don't even know if the other, it's never even like specified if the other Dionecluses, or whatever you pronounce it, can see the other arms. I don't know. They never mention it.
Yeah, the other Diclonius.
Like they dodge them, so I'm assuming probably can, but they never like say it. So
that's a really good question that I do not have an answer for.
Like they have to. I would
the
think
other
because
ones have to be able to see it, right?
Yeah, I don't, but like it's just weird because I don't.
Are you
think
telling me they can't see their own?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just never a single time they mention them. So.
Well, it's because the combat is completely uninteresting in this. Like.
Yeah.
Combat is a strong word. Someone's either ripping someone in half, or there's a whole military force pinning down the one girl. Like,
and also they don't look good at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I get, it's 2004 or whatever. It's like shitty CG, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's
like they're just clear see-through. Like there's nothing really like even interesting design wise to them.
Oh my god, it's a hand. Whoa.
Like at least in the like with the unseen hands or whatever from ReZero, like they have, they're like shadowy, they have like cool SFX to them and stuff.
Right.
Like the guy attached to him is fucking hilariously insane, shit like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know.
This is just a murder bun.
Yeah. So I mean, that's she just murders people and then she finds them, whatever. I don't even think. It was probably the second episode where she like breaks the shell or whatever that mattered to him, right? So she goes running, or it's like, oh no, he's mad at me because I broke this.
Oh, I don't remember all that.
That like when Coda first finds her or whatever and brings her back to the house, she like breaks this like seashell thing that was given to him by, I think it was his little sister.
I see.
So then he's like, "What the fuck you doing?" He like slaps her.
Oh my god.
That's like one of the weirdest, like, this shit, like, these people act so, like, weird around this person who's clearly not mentally capable, like, of much.
Right, yeah.
And, like, what is wrong with this Yuka girl, man? She is, like, one of the worst written characters I've ever seen.
She's written to be harem protagonist, main love interest girl. Which, as we know, is the worst character in any show they're ever in, almost exclusively, right? Like,
yeah. Like, literally, the thing I wrote down here, I was like, Yuka is so fucking annoying. Wah, worry about me, not the lost, helpless, mentally, like, incapable girl. I just wrote cousin fucker at the end. Like, why are you so worried about her? It's like, bro, she does not have the ability to take care of herself, and she is lost right now. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't get it, dude. Well, it's funny because in most, like, horrible harem shows from that era, right, it's like the main girl, like, exists to, like, reel the main guy in, right? And, like, she's a horrible character and annoying and usually super stupid, but, like, it's like he otherwise gets lost in all these other random things, and sometimes he needs, like, hey, come on, man, we gotta fix this. Like, we gotta, at the end of the day, retain normalcy. Whereas in this, it's like he just does that fine without her. Like,
yeah, like Coda, I feel like literally did not need her at all. She felt like more of a detriment to him most of the time than anything.
Right. It's just, and it's like there's also, of course, like this is the girl he ends up with at the end, so, she's got to be, like, a main driving factor. Well, bro, the only other girl for him to end up, there's 2 of them, and one of them's dead by the end, so, like, you don't even need her for that reason.
The other's 13.
Well,
Well.
Yeah, it's,
But yeah, I don't know. She's fucking annoying. I'm not gonna, like, obviously everyone hates her, so it's not a new point to make or anything, but...
Right, yeah.
Just reiterating it, watching the show, people are right. She sucks.
It's just interesting how people can almost universally hate characters like this, and yet people continue to write them, like as if they fill some important niche. Like,
yeah, I mean, people want to fuck their cousins, I guess, right? So
yeah.
we need to capture that audience.
Of course. Yeah, I don't get it. It's,
I think all, like, the nudity in this show is just really uncomfortable, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the era of anime back then was a little different in terms of that, but it's just like...
A little bit.
I don't want to see this.
Right. It's... yeah.
It's not a big deal. Like, I'm not one of those, like, my fan service and my anime, this shit is garbage. But it's like...
Right.
A lot of it would just seem like, I don't know, detracting from stuff that's going on most of the time, so...
It's weird. Hazel talks about this in her Elfen Lied video a good bit, but, like, the way the show uses nudity is so strange because it's, like, it's all at once trying to be, like, smart and important with it, but also at the same time, like, really juvenile, right? Like, it's like, oh, this is fan service kind of stuff. But, like, I don't... the show just doesn't understand, like, the difference between the two, and so every time it just puts them in the same context. I don't get it.
Yeah. So, not really a fan of that. But I guess after that, they sent out the hit squad to, like, capture her, Lucy, or whatever.
The hit squad.
They send out a hit squad, man. It's this fucking arm, and we see this, like, Bando dude. I guess he's, like, I don't know if he was a super soldier, but he seemed like he was enhanced or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Bando, one of the few characters I actually enjoyed. He's pretty one note, but I think he was, like, a good, refreshing, like, character in that show, so...
Right, I don't really remember him very much at all, but...
He just, he's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill her. I hate this bitch, and I don't know. But
yeah,
I thought he got a little more nuance later on when he doesn't actually die the first time and comes back or whatever, but...
Right.
I don't know. It was just a nice, because I was like, man, I am very sick of these characters already.
Yeah, I mean, jeez.
So yeah, he, like, fights her, he gets his fucking arm and leg ripped off, and he gets blinded or whatever.
As one does.
It's a fucking scene. I wrote this down. The homeless girl, Mayu,
oh, man.
She goes up to him, she goes, are you okay? This dude is blind. He's missing an arm and a leg and is bleeding out. I wrote, what the fuck do you think? Be honest here.
Well, is he okay?
Like, what, man?
Oh, my God.
You alright? Oh, you don't look so good.
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
I don't get it.
So that, whatever, a bunch of stupid... I don't even know if anything of interest really happens. They get her back again. Obviously, at this point, they're like, oh, there's maybe something weird going on with her because these army people or, like, these detectives were asking me where she was or whatever.
Oh, my God, what's going on? Why do they all... What the heck?
And then, I guess after that, because they're in college or whatever, they end up going to college with her. I don't know why. But, like...
That's...
This brings up one of the main things I talked to Cole about, how this show is so, like, the plot only moves forward on the most random ass fucking convenient shit that happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the statue of, like me believing it is like, okay, man, come on, really? Like, yeah, they just happen to go to the class of college where this professor guy who works for the secret organization is. Like,
oh my God.
But it was pretty funny that he's like, I'll never find this girl. And then he's in class, he's like, what the fuck is she doing here?
That's fucking ridiculous.
It's like a little funny because like that is such shit writing, but it's pretty funny.
I literally don't remember. I mean, every plot point in the show is moved forward by coincidence. Someone happens to remember or unremember where they meet or blah, 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 blah. Like, It's just entirely coincidental.
That's not even the most egregious example. I wrote it down, and I will talk about that when it comes up, because that one was actually like one of the worst examples I've ever seen of that. So,
my.
so yeah, he's like, oh, she's actually my sister. I need to take care of her. And Coda's just like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Me handing over a mentally unwell girl to the first guy who says he would like her.
Yeah. Whatever, I guess.
Sure, man.
With like no proof or anything. He's just like, yeah, well, he's probably right.
People don't lie anymore. That doesn't happen. Come on.
So yeah, he gives her over, whatever, and then he's all like, oh, I'm actually, I'm pro you guys. Like, we're going to make a new race. I don't understand that whole, like, one of the driving motivations being like, we're going to remake the human race as these. I don't even know why these people want to do that.
It's, they're different and they're stronger. So they should just be the only people now. Okay.
So then he
sure.
Like, I'm going to mate with you. And then she fucking kills him, which is pretty funny. It's like, all right, well, there he goes.
Owned. Goodbye.
So that happens and she runs away again, whatever. A
lot of attempted rape in today's conversations, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
A lot of good writers, definitely not using these things as crutches to make people
feel bad.
Weird bad guy. How do I make him emotionally convincing? Well,
bring out Old Faithful as they look at their do not break glass on the wall.
Yeah.
She runs away, whatever. They get to her past. I think it's later, but I just wanted this thing with this music box that he has with this song. Mm-hmm. So weird. Like, at one point they're just like, oh, this is a natural thing people do when the two kids just stand at the top of the stairs and start humming this music box.
What?
That's a real scene. You don't remember that?
No, not at all.
I think it was when they were looking at the past with Lucy and Coda, whatever, when they're like, she first met him because she's like, oh, that's a pretty music box. She's like, oh, thanks. I love this music box. And then after their day hanging out, there's just the last scene is them. They just stand on top of these stairs and they just start humming the music box together. I'm just like, what?
Little kid is not a thing introduced to music. This is his first time hearing a song in his entire life.
It's just like, it was like an alien wrote that, man.
Yeah, little AI generated script.
I felt like it. Because this whole time they're like, oh, he has like Coda's not what he sees. He has a hidden past with her. And it's like, oh, I wonder what it is. It's pretty obvious. When the homeless girl finally moves in with them, I said one of the funniest scenes to me was when like she's just getting kicked in the fucking dick, man. Like,
yeah.
Horrible, like, oh, shit's going wrong. These two people fight. She got, like, tossed into a fucking tree or whatever. When, Lucy and the other girl, what's her name? Nana are fighting.
Yep. Yeah.
She's like, oh, this sucks. Like, oh, well, at least I have you.
Frick.
And then, at that exact moment, a random lady comes up. She goes, oh my god, you found my dog. Don't touch her. You're gross. And leaves. It's like, what the fuck, man?
I mean, that is crazy.
Like, they're just like, how can we make them feel even more bad for her? Just insane, man.
And it's like, to what end? Now we care about the character. Now Coda and Yuka look like really nice people because they've saved her, which we knew that they were going to do in the first place. Yeah. Like,
and I don't even know why they did that, because the dog just shows up again. And they didn't even really comment on that. She's like, oh, there it is again.
He just like, escapes again. Okay, sure.
It's like, why the fuck did you do that in the first place?
It's so silly. It's so ridiculously goofy.
And, as plot convenience goes, then Mayu ends up leaving the house and she runs into Nana. And she's like, oh, you can come hang out at our house. And then the first thing that happens is she just, like, football tackles fucking Lucy. And everyone's like...
I wonder why.
Everyone's like, oh well, what can you do?
Girls will be girls.
Girls will be girls. Like, random girl shows up, attacks person we've been living with, and they just go, what are you doing? Like, they're not even like, get the fuck out or anything. They're just like, that was weird. What's up with that?
Well, to be fair, it's a roughly equivalent level of abuse that Yuka puts out to Kota, so, it's like...
True,
maybe they
she
just
does
think it's
beat the
normal.
shit out of him, like, on the regular.
This is just how people interact, bro.
I guess. Fucking hell, man. Because then, at that point, they realized, because, like, oh, the director guy that died was, like, the son of the big director of the project. He's like, we gotta find out who the kid was that came with him. This is the worst shit. The fucking, what's her name? Her, like, lab assistant girl.
I know who you're talking about.
Doesn't really matter. I can find it, though. Arakawa, I guess is her name. Okay.
I see.
She's like, oh, I don't know. I guess I don't remember anything, and then she's like, knocks over a book on her desk, which flips open to a page that only has a picture of Kota on it. It's blank.
Bruh.
And she's like, oh, that's him. First of all, why the fuck do you just have a book that has a picture of him? Like, what is that? And, like, you're not even a teacher.
No way.
I'm like, whoa, what?
No way. That's not real.
It's like that kid, what? Like the book just being entirely blank other than the one picture of him. And I'm like, why? Why would you have that? College professors don't have pictures of their students even.
Me when I have a totally healthy relationship with my students. I mean, probably healthier than the other guy's relationship to
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of shit where they're like, yeah, this is how people act when they're going over Lucy's past, and these three kids are like, how can we get back at her? And they beat a dog to death with a vase. Like, no, people don't do that. Fun fact.
Like, how old are those kids? Like 6? They're like 6. Like, what?
They're like, oh, everyone is so racist and mean to these, like, Dionycuses, because look at these kids who beat this dog to a death with a vase in front of her. Like, yeah, that's how normal people react, man.
like, I don't... Literal alternate universe humans. I don't know what to say. How do you write
whoever
that?
wrote this show is not a human. They just is like, I think this is how people would act here. Like,
do you think the author, like, has never seen anyone in any, like... Because I'm sure the justification is supposed to be, like, it's like an orphan's home, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
and so it's like
parents or whatever.
So it's like, oh, these kids are fucked up. They've seen some bad things. But it's like, you don't, like, that's not how you come out of that at the age of, like, 6. You don't come out of it like, bad things have happened, so now I violently beat dogs to death. Like,
all three of them. Not like they're just watching.
Oh, yeah, they're all just like, oh, totally cool. Like, none of them are like, wow, maybe we shouldn't do that. They're all just like, oh, duh, of course. That's what you do, man.
Yeah. I guess to give justification for her killing them. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, you're not going to feel bad at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if they were trying to pose a moral dilemma of, like, these, like, obviously they're dangerous, but should we treat them like everyone else, whatever.
There's
blah, blah, blah.
no way. I don't know.
Like, if that was a theme they're going for, they horribly failed, so I really hope it wasn't.
Are you talking about in terms of, like, Diclonius existing? Okay, yeah. I think they were going for that. I think they have very poorly gone for that, though. I mean, because, like, it's like, I will give Elfen Lied, it has some interesting ideas a little bit about, like, how, like, the actions of the majority class inflict these horrible sufferings on the lower classes that cause them in some large way to be like this in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, Lucy is maybe only ever killed humans because she, like, was kind of forced to in a scenario like that or whatever, or experienced such bad things. But then it's like, there's a lot of people who die at the hands of Diclonius for completely unrelated reasons, and, like, a lot of Diclonius just kill because it's just, like, their natural instinct to do such. I mean, literally, Lucy in, like, her flashback is like, the evil fucking DNA inside of me is telling me to kill, right? And, like, so she, after, like, a psychotic break, she ends up giving into it. So it's like, this is an inherent part of them. It's not, they would have never killed if they've never been subjugated at all. It's like they that's what they do. Like, some of them fight back.
It's like the equivalent of giving like someone a gun and being like, well, if we don't make them use it, they'll never use it in any way bad, right? So it's totally okay for them to just have it.
Except maybe it would be a better comparison if the gun was talking to them, telling them to shoot people. Like
the fucking Rick and Morty game gun.
Oh, jeez, I don't know if this is a good idea. We just shot a kid. Oh my god.
They're like, well, I mean, sure, the gun is whispering them and saying you should kill everyone, but like if we just don't do anything, then they won't do it. So we can. It's fine. Like,
yeah, except for literal children who don't know any better and will just.
Except for kids who beat a dog,
which is what happens.
They're in trouble.
I mean, they talk about like most Iclonians kill their parents before they reach like adulthood, and it's like clearly that like most of those are not inspired by like genuine like getting
bad
fucked
parents,
up by their parents, right? Like it's like that's just like that is just a natural instinct of them as a creature, right? Like
yeah, I mean, it's like the equivalent of like a fucking, I don't know, like a hippo or something, man. Like, yeah, there's probably hippos who aren't gonna, kill you or whatever, but
right, yeah,
they're like, you can't ever feel like completely safe being around one.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so goofy. It's so clumsily done in that regard.
But so yeah, her backstory is not great. Is not great. She ends up like, oh, you lied. You didn't tell me that your cousin was a girl that you were going to the festival with. I'm going to kill all these festival people now.
That caused her psychotic break because she totally understands romantic affection at that age and totally is like he wrote it like it's a harem show, but the characters are like 16 or something and they're like 6-year-old kids. Like, yeah. Why does she even understand that like a little girl would be a problem in this way to her, right? Like, why would, like she would probably just be like, oh my god, another friend, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, up to that point she has shown no like understanding or like many social cues. Like that's something you kind of need social cues for, to be like,
right,
oh.
Yeah, I mean this is a girl who doesn't know what a giraffe is, and it's like, oh, of course she understands that if her friend...
I did like that scene when they went to the zoo. That one was fun. She's like, right, oh my god, it's a giraffe. Oh my god, it's an elephant. That's so big. Yeah, I was like, see, that's wholesome.
See, and like that makes sense because like she's been completely like never socially understood things because she's basically not been raised at all.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that would make sense. But then at random times for plot convenience, oh, another girl. Well, that must mean that he wants to be in a relationship with his cousin. It's his cousin. Sorry. I
don't know if we said that enough yet, but it is his cousin.
It cannot be said enough times. Why did they have to write it like that? Like, why couldn't they just not be related? And it's like both their families own the business or something, right? Like, whatever.
It's like a childhood friend, man. Like, it's easily interchangeable.
Because it's an excuse for them to live together, I guess. Like, you could, whatever. It could be done differently. It's so stupid.
Yeah, anyway, so she, like, ends up killing his sister or whatever, too, and his dad.
That scene is so funny, because she's like, oh my god, that girl killed everybody. And he's like, she wouldn't do that. That's so stupid. Why would you say that? I hate you.
And then she gets her head cut off immediately. Yeah. He's like, oh no.
I cannot believe that.
Me when I say she would never do that. Me when she does it. Oh.
Oh my god. Like,
it's so funny. Obviously it's like trying to paint Kota as a good guy, and then it's like, oh, now he feels guilty because he, whatever, said I hate you to his sister before she gets murdered. It's like, oh,
I don't feel bad for him at all, because that's such a stupid, like, I guess to be fair, he's never seen her act like that, and like, obviously he doesn't know that she doesn't do that, just she's never done it around him. But like, you can on some degree be like, maybe he wouldn't believe that, right? Okay, I've hung out with her. She seemed cool. I don't know.
Yeah, but his immediate reaction is like, you're a liar. She would never. I hate you.
But yeah, to his literal sister, who he does like, and like, I just feel bad for her because she's like the smart one and like cares about him and tries to protect him there, and just like gets completely shit on for it. Like,
yeah.
And it's so stupid.
Yeah, I guess at that point, fast forward a bit, not a whole lot happens until finally like everyone meets or whatever, and they're like, they have the fight on the bridge. I guess we could talk about what's his name, Kurama, right? Is that the
Kurama?
dude?
Yeah, the
Kurama, the one character that was well written in this show. I will say,
yeah, he's pretty interesting.
He definitely bumped this up to a 3 from a 2. So
nice, man, nice.
Because his whole like struggle with, I mean, you know, he's like, at first he didn't really want to like horribly experiment on these things,
right?
And then he's all like, well, now the dilemma of like, well, your daughter turned out to be one, like, what are you gonna do now? And I think that whole like really interesting because he's not like a completely cold-blooded person or whatever. So
right, it's interesting because like part of his job is literally every time a couple has a dead clone's kid and they come in and they're like, oh, what happens? He just has to tell them, sorry, they have to die. Like, them's the bricks. But then when it happens to him, like, of course, objectively you can look at it and go, yeah, they have to die. That sucks. But when it's his own kid, he's realizing what he put those other parents through, and he's like, he can't cope with it, right?
Yeah, right.
But unfortunately, despite his best efforts, turns out Diclonius are born to kill people and think it's really funny, so she kills a lot of people because it's really funny.
Yeah, I would say even like it was meant to be sad, but I couldn't help but laugh when the last scene is him picking up his daughter, walking away, and them just detonating a bomb and killing both of them.
Yeah, it's quite something.
It's like yep, all right, well there you go. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, his arc pretty good, I will say. It's like the one entertaining part of the show.
That is the only part of the show that has ever stuck in my head, is that like moment pretty much where it's like that was a good like conclusion to that arc, and means a little bit more than anything else that happens in the show. So
for sure, I was like, just I'll give it a little praise. I didn't completely hate it. I just mostly hated it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote stuff. I was like, no one in the show has any common sense or expectations, like. And then it's like, this show tries to act smart and deep, but everyone is just a fucking asshole for the most part. Like,
isn't humanity so fucked up? It's fucked up how we treat our fellow man. And it's like, to some degree, I agree with that message, right? Like,
yes. Like,
people can be so cold to those they don't know. But this is like, hey, you're a poor kid. Get the fuck off my lawn. Like, it's like, what is wrong with this show, man?
Yeah, like, girl has money trying to buy just, like, ice cream or whatever at that store. This dude's like, get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, it's like
not even trying to help her a little bit. Like, okay, dude.
Right, like, it's so stupid.
Everyone's just mean.
Why is everybody so mean to me?
What? I just don't get it. I guess at the end, at least, you could, like, she admits, she's like, oh, I've been such, like, a bad person, like, getting jealous of Lucy or whatever.
Yeah, you have. You should not exist.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, but you're still a cousin, fucker.
What a character.
Also, the two separate scenes with, once he remembers what Lucy did to his family, where he's like, of course this matters. You killed my dad and little sister. And then they, like, fall on top of each other and start blushing immediately after. I'm just like, dude, come on.
That is crazy. That is just... I mean, this show is not written.
And also, near the end, where he's like, I won't forgive you for killing my family, bud. And then they fucking make out, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I get maybe you're a little down bad, but I don't know. I don't think I could make out with someone who killed my family. That's just me.
I would probably have to agree there.
You think? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Also, I don't, like, there were, like, 2 or 3 separate times that Lucy and Bondo, the soldier dude, fought, and she just chooses not to kill him for some reason.
Because he's a main character.
Yeah. Like,
she knows that. She's read the script.
Every time he's like, well, just fucking kill me already. She's like, no, you'll never see me again. I was like, why'd you kill all these other people then? Like, where is he? Yeah,
she just, like, clearly, like, doesn't even think of it as doing something. And then until suddenly it's a character that has a name, and it's like, oh, okay, hold on, we'll make an exception this one time.
I was like, I'm like, I don't know. Why do they want to keep him around? It's not, like, he could have just died and been like, yeah, that was, right. He tried and failed, whatever. Like, Yeah,
I don't get it. Maybe it's like something like, oh, she's trying to not kill people when she can help it anymore, kind of thing. And
but like, she had just killed like 30 people,
but
right before that.
Yeah,
like literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ends, of course, with an open ending because those are always so well written. Like, oh, she's dead. That's it. But then, oh, someone's at the gate. Who's that? And it looks like her silhouette. It's like, whoa, who could it be?
I literally don't remember that.
Yeah, that's how the show ends, by the way.
But she's definitely dead.
I don't know. But then they're like, who's here for dinner? Where everyone's here.
It's gotta be like Nana or something. I literally don't.
She was at the table already, though.
Oh fuck, man. I don't fucking know. Okay, because
maybe she's alive.
Because the way the manga ends is she like very explicitly dies. Like she's extremely dead in the manga. So I just assumed it was the same, that she was like definitely dead. I didn't literally
never show her body. So.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, that's kind of all the main things I got there.
Like, it's just such a weird show in so many ways. Like,
yeah, I mean, just like
new. Like, why is new what they did? Like, why is it the way it is?
Why are you the way that you are? I'm trying to think back. Like, I'm a hater. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm trying to think of stuff I did like about it at least.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I think the show, while like mostly
I think the art wasn't horrible.
I was gonna say I think the models look bad, and like the animation
it's definitely
looks
got
bad.
that like not good early 2000s character design.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very big distinction
really
between
bad.
Character designs I think look really good in the early 2000s, like stuff with School Rumble. I really like how characters were drawn in that show. This show
like
not so
harm
much.
show ones where it's like they look like blobs, and it's like we just did not.
They look like AI generated anime characters. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of like the background art,
the background art was
the background
good.
arts are fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty
very like visual novel-esque background art. 'Cause, like I could see like scenes that way.
Right. Yep. Also, the general color design of the series, I mean, it's for the very obvious reason of like a lot of stuff doesn't have red or contrast well with red, so oh my god, crazy blood like sticks out more. But it does end up making the show look very nice. Like there's a lot of contrast in the color design in a lot of areas. It makes it feel very realistic and good looking. Yeah. But
yeah,
it's just so hard when the characters themselves look so bad. Like, yeah.
They definitely like. Hey, I want to look at the scenes without the characters. That would.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't get much chances to do that. So
yeah, not a good sign for your story when people wish the characters were not there.
I mean, out of the main cast, Coda was probably the best one. So I don't know.
I probably like Lucy the most because she's the closest to like being a character.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true.
But like
the stuff with her past was just like
it's so
like,
bad.
I don't know.
But even that, you're like, oh, it's like not her fault, kind of in some ways, or like it plays on this like she's a victim of circumstance kind of stuff, and like had a psychotic break, yada yada. Like there's some genuine depth there, but it's all done so horribly that it like ruins its own points basically. Whereas like Coda is like one of the better characters because he's just the straight man who's just like,
yeah,
guys, quit being fucking stupid. Like he's very stupid and not very decisive, like any other great harem character, but like he's like the most agreeable character.
Yeah, I thought like a lot of his decision making really wasn't too bad outside of like the handing her over to
whenever the plot calls for it.
Right, like obviously a lot of times he'd be like, no, I'm not going to take her to the hospital. Like, no, I'm not going to give her to the cops. Like, obviously they have an alternate agenda.
Right, yeah.
So that was at least like, okay, I'm glad he can see that and acknowledge that. So that's good.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters are just so nothing.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason there's a lot of cut characters from the manga, right? Because they add fucking nothing. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is a anime with the it has depth with big quotation marks, and that's where I think I'll leave it.
Yeah. I do like to give it a tiny bit of credit for like it tries to touch on those topics and like tries to bring up some of those points, like the whole like people who are oppressed being forced into it by their oppressors kind of thing and stuff like that. Like there's some genuine things to be said about those subjects. It's just they are not said in the show.
Yeah, and if there were just stuff they had to not do that would have actually made those things work. Like
if they never,
if you had not said, oh, they are like they just kill people, like that's what they do. Yeah, like, they kill their parents from birth.
If you hadn't introduced like Karama's daughter, where it's like she clearly was just born a fucking psycho murderer, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is how Dicolonius are. If you hadn't introduced that, maybe that other stuff wouldn't hit as like, oh, Dicolonius are all bad inherently. Like maybe we would be like, maybe all the ones we see are pretty reasonable. Oh, right, they aren't. Like,
I think even like if they had just mentioned like the ones that like grew up in the lab being fucking tortured, yeah, it makes sense for them to be like spiteful. But even the ones that don't, they mention as just killing like people.
Right. I mean, there's a reason the parents always have to take them to the lab, and the lab has to put them down. It's not for fun. Like,
yeah,
it's just so bad. Does that wrap up our thoughts on Elfen Lied? Yeah.
I don't think I got much else to say. 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Very bad.
It's quite bad. I guess we'll get to my show for the last show then. My other one. I watched The Misfit of Demon King Academy.
What a great title. Let's just start with that.
The Misfit of Demon King Academy. History's strongest demon king reincarnates and goes to school with his descendants. That's the full title. Literally, I just Google this as Misfit every time. It's literally impossible to remember anything. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, Demon King and Academy. But just one of those titles that really just rolls over in your brain and you just have never processed a single word in that sentence.
Like the AI generated light novel title. We've got a lot
right,
of those
yeah,
nowadays.
like literally. the whole Misfit thing in this show is so stupid too. It's so like doesn't matter at all.
Absolutely.
It's just a reason for royals to be like racist, like, oh, you're a misfit, you are stupid. Although they already have a thing for that in the series with like the purebloods are the royals and the not purebloods are the other ones. He could just not be a pureblood, which he is also, but also he's a misfit. So it's the same thing. Like,
why is everybody so mean to
me? Yeah. So Justin watched 8 episodes of this.
This is one of the 6 shows I've dropped, so there you go.
Oh man, I mean, like, the last arc's pretty okay, but so I thought it was kind of a funny place to drop it, but
I think it was just like it wasn't even something so bad happened that I dropped it. I'm just like I'm just not having fun with this anymore. So like, it was shitty. Like, oh, this is pretty funny. It's like bad. Like, this dude twirled a CGI castle and threw it like a football.
It's so fucking good. I'll put a timestamp in right now. I'll put that in right now because I fully intended to put that in, but I'll put it in right here too because that GIF is way too fucking funny.
This dude throws a castle like a football. This dude fights someone, kills them like 30 times, and keeps reincarnating them in the middle of the fight. Like, this is pretty funny shit. Yeah. Like, okay.
So I was like, okay, I want to watch another show for this, and I decided to watch this. I watched the first 2
as
episodes.
a joke, Cole's like, I need another bad show to watch. I'm like, well, you love Isekai. Here you go.
Yeah, but, I mean, just turn into the Isekai theme then instead, right? Like,
yeah.
So I watched the first 2 episodes of this in call with Ishii, and
God rest his soul. Couldn't be what you were with us.
Yeah, he's dead. Truly gone too soon. So it's the thing that was funny about this show is how fast it gets into, like, it's an isekai, it's a power fantasy. Like, I was shitting on fucking How Not to Summon a Demon Lord for like the end of the first episode. He pulls the whole trope of beating up the guy who was being mean to him or whatever, and turns out he's really strong, kind of thing.
Yep, I think the show does in
this
the first
happens
10
in
minutes.
The first 5 minutes. 5. In the first 2 minutes, he's walking to school, and this guy is like, I'm a royal, and you're not a royal. You suck. And he's like, oh yeah, you suck. And he's like, I'll kill you for that one. I'll shoot fire at you. And he tries to shoot fire at him, and he blows it out, and he says, oh, sorry, I blinked or some shit like that. Whatever. It's stupid. Just so happens they fight the first round of this tournament thing. And in this tournament thing, he in the first 5 minutes, they fight, he kills him, resurrects him from the dead. Like, he was fully dead, he resurrects him. And kills him again, like, 8 times in a row until he decides to forfeit. Like, okay, I see the power levels we're working with here. Like, Ishi and I are watching this, are like, it's crazy that we're, like, 5 minutes in and he is bringing people back from the dead. Like, that's the power scaling we're working with here.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And so the rest of the episode is like, oh, that guy's older brother is even more important, Royal. And, you know, the reason the not purebloods always do bad in these tournaments is because they always kill the ones who don't do it or threaten them or whatever. And so he gets his older brother to fight him, and his older brother's like, yeah, but you're also a disgrace, and kills him. And it's like, okay, that was interesting. And then he fights the guy, and he's like, I'll use the magic inherited by the Demon King. And bam, it's origin magic or whatever. And he's like, what? It didn't work. He's like, it can't work because I'm the origin. Because I'm the Demon King. He's like, that can't be right. That can't be right, even though I just watched it happen.
He's like, no, that can't be right. There's something wrong with it.
That don't make sense. It must be a bad day. Wind blowing in the wrong direction. Like,
no, I just love to me. He's like, that can't be true.
That's not right. I know you resurrected him from the dead, and like nobody else can do that. But
it's like you're playing a fighting game. You're like, how plus is that? They just like say it. You're like, oh, that can't be true.
You just keep mashing.
Like, I know I can beat this.
It's so crazy. This show, one of the funniest things about this show is the absolute like you get a pretty good understanding pretty early on, at least by episode 2, of like what the power level for normal people is and what the power level of main character is. He's like exponentially stronger. Yeah. Like to a ridiculous degree. Like they'll be in class and it's like, here's this spell we're using, and this is like the most important spell we have, and he's like, oh, you guys are using the wrong version of it. Here's how you fix it. And the teacher's like, oh my god, you fixed this spell nobody's been able to fix for 2,000 years. That just happens. That's just normal. Okay, back to class, everybody. Like,
oh, damn, this guy's pretty good. All right.
Like, what? Like, the degrees to which he can do insane shit like that. And then he's like, yep, I'm the Demon King. That's how I did it. And they're like, oh, come on, you. I know he just got resurrected, apparently, but that can't be right. No, it's gotta be someone else we don't know about. Okay, sure. So episode 1 is all that bullshit. By the way, do you remember this fight, episode 1, where like the older brother of the Royals is like, he used the origin magic, all that bullshit, and what Anos, the main character is Anos Voldigode, sorry. He's the reincarnated Demon King, right? From 2,000 years ago. And he's like, oh, here's the punishment. He resurrects the brother that he just killed, and he makes them fight. And he's like, if your bond is strong enough, you will overcome it. And then all the blah, 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 because the brother's mad he got killed, and he's like a zombie kind of thing now or whatever. And he like dies from it, and he resurrects them both. He's like, the bonds in this era are too weak. You guys are pathetic, and just like lets them off with a scolding. I don't know. Like, I was just like, what was the... It felt like they were trying to say something with that one, but I don't think they quite figured out what they were trying to say. It was really funny. But episode 2, we get introduced to... Well, episode 1, the one girl he meets on the bridge in the first scene is like Misha. She's like quiet, cute girl who nobody likes or whatever. Partially because she's not a pureblood, I think. And also, later we find out because she's like technically not a real person. She's like a doll or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
We meet her sister Sasha in episode 2, and she's like, huh, I hate you guys. You guys are stupid. And so like, okay, well, we'll have a fight in the contest that's happening. They have a fight. It's like you have to build a castle and break your opponent's team's castle. Well, Anos' team is only him and Misha. And so they fight Sasha's team of like 7 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they fight, and they're like, we see Sasha's team, and it's like, oh, wow, Sasha's actually pretty good at magic stuff. And like, she's a pretty good leader. She like kind of whips them into like making this castle, making it well, and firing a strong attack and protecting it with a barrier. But Anos is like, you guys are pretty decent, you know. You put a magical barrier, it'll absorb all my magic stuff. Too bad you guys have a limited understanding of how strong people can be. I will simply pick up the castle. That is not magic. And he picks up the castle, spins it. I will loop the gif again. Spins
Dude, it's like, I didn't remember, like, specifically till you and Ishi mentioned this happening, how fucking insane that looked.
It looks so funny. He picks up the castle, spins it on his finger, throws it like a fucking spiral touchdown pass football, right? Like, and he's like, now you'll have to break your fall or you will die. And so she barely breaks the fall.
Football throws it, man. He spiraled that shit too.
Dude,
that was a good toss.
It was a beautiful fucking pass, man. And it crashes. They barely live, and he goes and he beats them up a little bit, and they gained like a begrudging respect for each other kind of thing. And he's like, "Oh, you lost. Now you will have to be recruited to my team." And so now, like, we get this whole arc with Sasha where she's like coming to. It sounds like she's coming to acknowledge her sister a little bit more after that. And also acknowledges this guy that she now understands is very strong and cool and a nice guy and yada yada. Mm-hmm. And they have like a little romance thing. They kiss at the end of episode 2. It's like, oh my gosh, wow, we're really moving along here. But then episode 3 is like she fucking relapses. Like they go deep into a dungeon and it's like, oh my god, she betrays them. She stabs Misha with a knife in the chest. She's bleeding out pretty badly. And she's gonna go escape with the stuff and betray them, I guess. You wanted the stuff? I don't really know what's going on here. And so we're like, wow, this character is bipolar as fuck. Why did she betray them? But she explains it, and it's like, oh, she's putting on a performance. Anos is like, you're being stupid. You're putting on a performance. Why are you pretending to betray us? You know, if you wanted to kill her, you would have actually, I can clearly keep her alive from here, and you probably know that. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and tries to escape. We find out in the next episode or in this episode or whatever the whole background between them. Apparently Misha is like basically a clone created of Sasha, and when they both turn 15, which is the next day, surprisingly, and rather conveniently, they will like form back into one person. Basically it'll just be Sasha, and they'll become very strong and become like a vessel for the Demon King or whatever. Mm-hmm. Neglecting the fact that the Demon King has already reincarnated. And so Anos is like, oh, well, I'll find a way to fix it. And we get to meet one of the 7 Demon Emperors who's like one of the big bads who's like, oh, I set it up to be like this. Who we know used to be a subordinate of Anos, right? Because he was the Demon King who reincarnated. So he's like, hey, I remember this guy. What the fuck, buddy? And it's like, we beat his ass. We uncover all the stuff. We have to go back in time to make it so that they are actually like 2 separate clones of each other. And so they're all their own complete person. They won't die anymore. Oh my god, that's beautiful. Yay. And he beats one of the 7 Demon Emperors. Ivis is his name. He's like Sasha and Misha's like descent, or like they're his descendant or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. And after we beat him, it's like, oh, he had his mind like controlled by like magic or something, and now he's a good guy. Like, and that's probably what's happening with the other Demon Emperors. Okay, so now we have like like one of the big things to this is like everybody remembers the Demon King's name wrong. That's part of the reason why they don't remember the main, like they don't realize the main character because his name is wrong.
A lot of plot conveniences in that show.
Yeah, and well, I mean, this isn't a plot convenience. This is a plot point. Right? There's like reasoning behind this, which is stupid.
Okay.
But so it's like, oh, someone went into the past and like interjected them, or like changed the past, changed the memories so that they remember him wrong. And so whatever, man. Okay, a lot of convoluted bullshit. So basically we got to go turncoat all of the 7 Demon Emperors again to make them good guys again and find whoever this fake Demon King is, Alvos Tilhevia or whatever. And beat him up, I guess. I don't really know. Episode 5 introduces the transfer student, Lei. I don't know about you. I really like Lei's design and his voice actor. He's very cool.
Oh,
he's
that guy, yeah.
Guy. Yeah, I think he's really sick. He's maybe my favorite character from this.
I remember him being pretty cool.
Yeah,
also, I just want to point out, I just realized that they're doing the fucking Attack on Titan treatment with this show. They're doing the season 2 has 2 parts to it currently.
Oh my god. Not the parts, bro. Oh, God.
Anyway, but yeah, Lei's pretty cool.
Yeah, Lei's cool. I like his design. And, he gets introduced and it's like, whoa, he's, like, significantly stronger than everyone other than Anos we've seen so far. Whoa. And he's a sword guy. He's cool. They have a really cool fight in the next trial, yada yada. Becomes friends. It's like, oh, he's sympathetic. Cool. It's like, wow, we're getting more cool guys. Then we get magic sword tournament bullshit happening. This is a really long and convoluted fucking arc. Basically, the whole point of it is just, there's a magic sword tournament, and when you win it, that's really good. And it looks like
parents are fucking
yeah,
they're the dumbest, but I kind of love them. They're just
his
like,
parents are so pissed.
I love you, son. Do good out there for dad. And they're just so stupid.
Yeah, they're fucking raw. Every time he comes home, he brings like one of the girls home, and they're like, "Oh my god, you got another wife!" And his dad's like, "You got 2 wives, dude? That's more than I could get. What the fuck?"
You got 2 wives, like I only get 1. What the hell?
Yeah, they're pretty based. I like them. His parents are rather endearing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Leia's a voice actor. I was like, his voice actor's familiar. It's the same guy who voices Shiro from Log Horizon.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Indeed.
So 6 and 7 is just like, there's a big tournament, and it looks like Anos and Leia are gonna have to fight, which shouldn't be a problem, except Leia seems to be all distant all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, he's being controlled by the royal faction because his mom is really sick and she needs treatment, and the only way she can get treatment is with the royal cooperation, so they'll kill her otherwise, and he really likes his mom. So like, so basically they end up fighting, and Leia kind of comes to terms with like, I'm probably gonna get beaten and die, but my mom will probably be fine, or maybe she won't be fine, but I don't want to like super hard betray them, I guess. And he basically just leaves it up to Anos, and Anos like beats him. It looks like he kills him because he has like a fucking contract or whatever to, if he loses the match, he dies or whatever. Somehow he goes around it. It doesn't really matter. He's like, I killed the contractor. It's complete bullshit. The magic powers in this fucking show are so stupid.
Yeah, remember when we talked about pretty uninteresting fight mechanics?
Yeah.
Hello.
At least the fights are more visual. Like, it's funny.
I mean, yeah, there's more going on than fucking not to summon a demon lord. But you know that is not a
there's
big.
There's some like semblance of strategy. It's really bad still, but like I would put it one step up. Probably visually, this show overall looks worse than that show by a lot, but the fights probably look better. Like, you can tell that was all they cared about, animating decently. And like, they're not great looking, but like they're like very slightly above average fight, like animation quality maybe. Really doesn't fucking matter. Basically, there was a big bad one. Like 3 of the demon emperors were controlling this, setting up the scenario, and it's a trick. He actually didn't kill Leia, and they have to fight the guy, but the guy is really strong, and blah, 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 blah. His mom helps, and his mom dies in the process, and it's, like, really sad, but then they beat the guy, and they turncoat him, and yada, yada, yada. He was being controlled, too. It's a whole long dance. It's really fucking annoying. But, yeah, at the end of it, everybody's okay. He resurrects his mom, which is crazy, because it seems like his mom is just completely dead. The deal is she's, like, a spirit, and spirits, like, are physical manifestations of like traditions is how they word it. They're basically devils from Chainsaw Man if you think about it. Like they like have power in accordance to like whether or not that thing is cared about that much or whatnot.
Yeah,
but the problem is,
remember that.
Yeah, but the problem is they can't just help her in the hospital and make her free of the royals because they don't know what tradition she represents, and she doesn't even know, which is really stupid. I don't know how you would not know that, and you're a spirit your whole life, but okay, sure.
Lacking critical information.
Yeah, that's kind of important. But they do kind of set it up a little interestingly where the first day of the tournament, she gets a tiny bit better, and the characters are left wondering why she gets a little bit better. And so, you know, we have some time to, like, maybe figure it out, like, what's different from that day to the other days. And at the end of the tournament, when he resurrects her, Anos is like, I figured it out just now, and that's how I was able to resurrect her. The tradition was that the tradition of, like, swordsmanship, because we know she's, like, has something to do with a sword, because she turns into a sword in that big fight, right? And he's like, it's the tradition of, like, swordsmanship that doesn't necessarily only care about magic power, but about other things also. And so it's like, oh, okay. And this makes sense because in the first day of the tournament, he just barely in time gets his sword from his father. And so when he wins the fight with it for the tournament, because, you know, it's a magical sword tournament, you have to have a magical sword. And his dad, to very comedic effect, has been gone, like, all week making this sword. And, like, he comes back and his head's all bloody and shit. He's like, I had to get these materials, but they were on the edge of a cliff and I got hurt. And it's okay. I'll be fine.
I remember that. That scene was funny.
Yeah, that shit was bad funny.
His dad is such a hard worker.
He's so cool. I love him. And so when he wins his first round, he's like, all thanks to the sword from my father. And so that's why she gets better a little bit. And so at the end, when he wins the whole tournament with it, he's like, I owe this completely to my father. He's the best craftsman ever. Yada, yada, yada. Like, prattles on about it to this whole camera, and like everybody acknowledges it, kind of thing. And so that revives the tradition a little bit. Kind of a clever plot point. It does ultimately just result in like, yay, everybody's good now. Lei lives, and Anos lives, and we beat the bad guys, and his mom still lives. Like, okay, sure. But you know,
nothing
it's
bad
fine.
would ever happen.
I do like already a better mystery show than Attack on Titan. The way they're setting up things, and you could have figured them out beforehand, right? Like, they set up a plot point and give you a chance to figure it out with information that was revealed. It would be really hard, but you could do it. But
It's an insane statement, but it's really funny.
You know, hey, maybe mystery writers should try writing correctly, huh?
Take some notes from the Misfit of Demon Academy.
Yeah. God.
History's strongest demon king reincarnated.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. The next set of episodes are a lot of pretty uninteresting shit. There's like school fighting stuff. They go to the Hero Academy because, you know, there's the whole country of heroes and the humans and whatnot.
There's a Hero Academy? I must have dropped it before they got to that.
That is episode 9 exactly.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
And he's going there. Part of the reason part of the trial for the class for the field event kind of thing is they have 10 days to get there. Well, he can teleport, so it's pretty easy for him. So he arrives early, and him and Sasha are going through the whole school and getting like shown where everything is and whatnot. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to find maybe the reincarnation of Kanon, like the one big hero from back in his day. Because, you know, hey, that was a guy I liked and we wanted to be friends eventually, so we'll try and find him. And also he's like the other person in this entire world who is as strong as him, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess is as good a time as ever to set up the premise of the show. So the reason he had to reincarnate and he died 2,000 years ago is because all the races constantly were killing each other. The humans wanted to kill the demons wanted to kill the humans, but the spirits and whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. So to end the cycle of war, when the heroes come to his castle, he's like, I'm tired of murder. This shit sucks, you know, and makes the heroes understand that like humans and demons are both sympathetic. And he's like, I'll let you kill me so that the war can be over, and you can use the rest of my magical power since I will be dead to make up this giant barrier that will block off all the countries from each other based on race for 2,000 years, and we'll have peace. Which is like kind of an interesting premise, and it happens and it mostly works. But it turns out humans and the demons are still pretty shitty. Like, the demons just invent the fucking like pure blood faction royalty bullshit. The humans still just hate the demons for no fucking reason. I mean, for a reason, right? There was a war and they killed a lot of people. But like 2,000 years ago, bud, let it go.
That's no time at all. That was just yesterday.
Yeah. So he goes to the Hero Academy. He's trying to fix that up. And of course, all the heroes are fucking scumbags. And there's like souls in this magic world, which was kind of an interesting concept of like that they're called sources, right? And most people have one. The hero Kanon was so strong because he had 7 sources. And so even if he was killed 6 times, as long as he has one source and he gets away, he can revive all of them, basically. So he has a lot of fucking lives, basically. And so when he died, people are like, he has a bunch of sources. He could like reincarnate into a bunch of different people theoretically. So they think there's 4 people who are reincarnations of him at the academy. Turns out none of them are, but you know, that's kind of funny. And of course there's a whole fucking, they gotta fight, and he makes a fool out of them. And, if you were the real reincarnation of Kanon, you would be stronger, or you would remember me, or it's so stupid. But and you know, at this point there's kind of been like, maybe Lei is the reincarnation of Kanon. That would make sense. He's a really strong swordman guy. But also in the same episode, we were introduced to this flashback of Kanon and one of the Demon King Anos's other subordinates from back then, Shin, who also had white hair, who was also a swordsman guy, and seems very similar to Lei in some ways. And so we're kind of led to believe that he's probably not a reincarnation of Kanon, especially because Lei does not remember anything, basically, from before he was reincarnated, whereas Kanon would remember things, and Shin, specifically, when he asked for permission to reincarnate, didn't want to remember anything. So we're like, okay, so Lei is Shin. Got it. When we get through all this whole arc, and there's a whole, like, we gotta fight the Hero Academy, and the Hero Academy, oh, they cheat a bunch of times, and it's really stupid, and they have an army, and actually we gotta kill them, and it's an army of, like, 100,000 clones that are, like, suicide bombers. It's really fucked up.
What?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
So, like, they have this, you find out this one lady is, like, basically a magic spell that just clones, like, these heroes, and this one hero who is supposedly a reincarnation of Kanon, she isn't, she keeps getting cloned to...
Their power is literally like that one dude from fucking God of High School who was making all the clones that were exploding and shit.
I mean, pretty much, man.
I don't even remember his name, but...
I don't either. But they, like... She's like, yeah, for 2,000 years I have been making clones for this army so that they can wage war.
I have been gathering my forces for 2,000 years.
But the thing is, she's not the leader of the faction, and she's not happy about it. She's just, like, basically the manifestation of a magic spell, right? Mm-hmm. And so the clones are, like, one of the 4 reincarnations, whatever. They're not really, but whatever, okay. And they fight for the human Hero Academy, yada yada, alongside the other 3 guys who have names from there that are, like, kind of strong. But then one of them, like, kills herself to do a really big fuck off spell that almost gets on us. And they're like, dang, that was close. Okay, send out the next one. And he's like, huh? I'm sorry, what? And so we solve all that shit. There's a bunch of really cringe bullshit. But we basically learn the main plot in the last 2 episodes is about to happen. And basically, the Hero Kingdom wants to invade the demons again, because the top leaders are real pissed about it still. And they've got this whole army now, whereas the Demon King guy, Avo Stilhevia, the fake Demon King guy, he shows up again with the last couple 3 demon lords or whatever that are still turncoat brainwashed. He shows up with them, and he claims to be the actual demon lord, and he riles all the demons up, and they're gonna go invade the humans. And so we're like, whoa, what the fuck? However, the interesting thing is, when Avo Stilhevia shows up in this middle of this, like, Hero Academy fight bullshit, he goes and he takes the sword, which is the holy sword that Kanon used, and only he can use. And so they're like, oh, well, of course you can't use that sword. And then he uses the sword. And they're like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. And so we go, oh my god, Avo Stilhevia is the reincarnation of Kanon. What the fuck? So the last episode happens. We've got the 2 countries are about to go to war.
Wait, so the fake demon lord is the reincarnation of the hero?
Yes. Correct.
What?
And
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. And we're like, what? That's fucking weird. But how do I put it? I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh yeah, when the main character arrives at the Hero Academy for the first time, he's like not sure if Kanon is maybe, like, still alive, even, because, like, as far as he sees, there's no reason he should be dead. But then he learns almost immediately after he killed the main character, Demon the King, he was killed by other humans. And we're like, whoa, what the fuck? We learned his, like, top loyal, like, betrayed him, basically, and killed him. I guess he just killed all 7 of his sources at once from behind. I don't, like, that. Sure, that makes fucking sense.
Yeah.
Whatever. He gets killed, and, like, he could reincarnate, but he has chosen not to reincarnate for all these 2,000 years. And so people interpret that as, like, he doesn't like humans anymore kind of thing, maybe, because he just chose not to reincarnate for such a long time, even though there's no reason he shouldn't be able to. And so the guy who betrayed him, Jurgis, Jergas, Jurgis, sure.
Jurgis.
He was the guy who led the fucking Hero Academy, and that's why they're all so stupid and racist still, because he really, really hated the demons more than anybody else, because they killed his mom and they killed his family. And it's like, you know, it's the whole point is like a both sides kind of thing. Yeah, you also killed my family, like, you guys are just creating more war. But no, this guy's like, no, but I hate you even more, like, that kind of thing. So he's, like, perpetuating the cycle of violence, right? But so the main plot happens, and those 2 sides are gonna go fight, and we're like, yeah, Avos Still Heavy must be the reincarnation of Canon. Main character, I was going to say Diablo, but it is not Diablo. It is Anos.
Diablo.
He goes to fight the fake Demon King, and he fights him, takes off his helmet. Oh my god, it's Lei! Lei is Canon, is Avos Still Heavy. What?
What?
And this, again, does kind of make sense. You know, we knew he was a very strong sword guy, like almost as strong as the main character, right? And also, so the main thing that separated him was it probably is Shin because he doesn't remember anything. Well, who said he doesn't remember anything? Lei said that. Like he's just posing that he didn't remember anything so that he could not let everybody know that he is Count-on, right? And that he was doing this. It would reveal everything. So we're like, oh my god. And so he talks to him and he's like, yeah, I hate the humans. They're so stupid. They keep perpetuating the cycle of violence. So what I'm going to do is I'm unleashing I changed history so that I'm the Demon King, and I'm going to go fight them, and I'm going to let them kill me. And then they will have no reason to be upset anymore. The war will be over, and we can go back to having peace.
Dude, what the fuck are these plot twists?
I know, right?
Did I give you another? Okay, hold on. This is not happening again. I won't believe that the episode after I drop that is when all this shit starts happening, man.
I mean, a couple of those episodes are pretty bad, though. But like, this is like the main point where it's getting interesting.
Why does this shit keep happening to me? Like,
I don't know.
8 episodes in, you'd be like, you're pretty safe to drop a show. Probably not much else is going to change at that point.
If I was going to drop the show, I would have dropped it after 4 because, like, that's kind of when you can kind of start to see the cycle of, like, okay, he's got to go get all the brainwashed guys and he's got to fight the big bad. But then they introduced 5, and I like Lei enough as, like, a character design that I was probably just going to finish the show because he seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so all this stuff happens.
I can't believe this shit every fucking time.
I still would not call this a good show, despite.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but you wouldn't call it for Flag Breaks a good show either, would you?
I think I gave that a 5. I think I gave this a 4. I might give it a 5, but yeah, it's.
I can't believe this.
It's so like those plot twists happen, and again, those plot twists are kind of cool because like they actually set them up, and you could like, you know, from the get go where. You know, this could be Shin or this could be Kanon. It could be either of those reincarnations. But we're kind of misdirected into thinking it's Shin because, I mean, mostly because he has white hair, but also because he has no memories. But again, no memories is something you can fake. That's not actually evidence, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, whoa, okay. They even play into this a little bit interestingly because, like, in episode 10 or something like that, they go and they get new swords, and he's like, oh, what's this new sword? And he's like, this is a sword that only Shin could use because he was really talented. And he's like, oh, well, I'll use this sword. Of course he can use the new sword because he's fucking the reincarnation of Kanon, but it seems like another thing to confirm, oh, it's Shin. It has to be Shin, right? Pretty interesting. But, so they have a big bad fight, and in this fight, one of the cooler looking fights for sure. I mean, it's basically just I shoot power at you, he does crazy big sword attack kind of stuff. It's not interesting on a technical level, but the way it looks is kind of cool. And he loses all of his sources except for one, and he goes and he manages to stab Anos. And he didn't mean to do a killing blow, but it ends up being a killing blow basically, because I don't know, he kind of lets it happen basically. And in that moment, he's like, "Wait, no, that's not what I wanted you to survive, and I would die to the human army so that they would think the Demon King was killed, right? And like we could go back to peacetime." And he's like, "Oh no, that'll still happen." He takes the helmet from Lei, and he puts it on. He's like, "Now that will happen, but you will be the one who survives," kind of thing. It's like, oh my god, that's crazy. And so Anos dies, and they're all like, oh my god, that's fucked up. And the hero army sees that happen, and they order a whole retreat of the demon army and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, wow, the plot is getting solved, and Anos just died. But of course, what? Well,
but
you know. Wow, I wonder if this group of humans who weren't satisfied with a war that ended 2,000 years ago will be totally cool with the demons now that the whole war has ended. Oh, spoilers, they're not cool with that. And they're like, nope, it's not enough. We gotta kill all the demons because the one guy in charge, who is basically like the reincarnation of Jagus, or Jurgis or whatever, has to go kill all the demons. And so the fight still has to happen, but now they're also down Anos. Oh no, that's so upsetting. So like, so the big bad fight happens. We find Jurgis has been turned into a spell basically that has the purpose of wiping out all the demons, and
What?
yeah, I don't know. Whatever, man. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
So like all the remaining characters are trying to fight him, and like Lei, who is the reincarnation of fucking Count On, is really strong, but he can't quite beat him. So they're like, "Oh my god, what do we do?" And then Anos comes back from the dead.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so they're like, "Oh my god, I thought you were dead.
Oh
How'd you
my
come back from the dead?"
god.
And he's like, "Huh, I used a spell that nobody but me knew about until now. See, there's this spell where if you take a killing blow, or if you take an attack, and I use the spell, the next time I take the attack, I'm immune to it or whatever, or I don't die from it. And it's, oh my god, it's the same attack that Count On did when he killed him 2,000 years ago, so that's how he survived it. Whoa. See, that could have been clever if they set up that this spell existed at all before this.
They tend to not do that. He's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I did have a spell.
Right, and so it's like, it feels like it's supposed to be clever because, oh yeah, he did take an attack like that 2,000 years ago, but we don't know about the fucking spell.
Yeah. There's so many times, like, if people would just introduce like a plot point to make it like more believable, these kind of things would be fine.
And it's funny because they do that pretty decently the rest of the series, right? I talked about the other things that they set up well, but they just didn't set up that one. So it kind of falls flat a little bit. We're like, okay, I guess he's back alive. Anyways, They use all their power. They barely managed to defeat the big bad guy. And now we've got all the good guys, and they're all alive, and the demon and the hero armies kind of resolve their differences, and everything's good. Yay, the show ends.
Awesome.
Awesome, man.
I still can't believe once again I dropped a show like right before all the weird like crazy plot twists happen. I'm just like doomed at this point, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Right? Some of that stuff is pretty good, honestly, but like
doesn't yet. I mean, it seems like 4. Pretty interesting at least.
Right, and I do. So I was thinking of whether I like this show or How Not to Summon a Demon Lord more. I like this show more because even though despite like the characters, which the models look worse than the models from How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, probably because the art style is generic isekai. Fucking, they have 1,000 lines and they never move art style.
Yeah.
Let me insert a clip of that very funny clip of the man attempting to walk animation right here.
I know the exact one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty heinous. Like, the animation is significantly worse. Like, this is really bad animation, except in some of the fights, it's pretty alright. Right? Like, but, like, the writing, it's somehow even more overtly power fantasy in some ways. But, like, the core heart of the series, I like the characters more. Like, Sasha, Misha, and Lei are all very cool. Especially Lei, he's really sick. And they all have like their own kind of arcs. Like Lei finds a girl he ends up liking who's also a spirit, and they have a kind of genuine feeling romance that's kind of nice. Okay, cool. But then like the part that like puts at least a 4 for me is like the main plot conceit of like main character does this big crazy act of like sacrifice to prevent like the very real cycle of war and vengeance kind of thing that consumes them and all this kind of stuff.
And it still just happens anyway.
Right, and it still just happens, and it turns out it has to be monitored and protected very closely. Like, you can't just let that go. Like, it'll fester on its own kind of thing. I think all that is kind of interesting and, like, a pretty good plot conceit. It could be expanded on to make it actually good, but, like, it's a good conceit, and it's an interesting setting, yada yada. But ultimately, there's so many issues with it, like, you know, just how overtly strong the main character is to the point where it feels like there's often no challenge to him. A couple of the fights feel challenging, sure, but most of them don't. And, like, there's a lot of downtime and a lot of, like, filler, stupid people who are really stupid for no reason. Especially, like, all the royals who are just like, oh, I'm a royal, and you're not a pureblood. You are stupid, and I hate you, and you deserve to die, and I will shoot you now. Like, that happens, like, so many times. Like, their homeroom teacher. You watched the episode, I think you got to the episode where they get rid of the homeroom teacher, basically.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's one of the people who's like, ugh, I hate you, not purebloods. You're evil. And so she hates the main character guy because he's a misfit, yada yada. And he barely shows up in time to stop her from killing his mom, who has his sword or whatever for the tournament. And he's got the fan club. That fan club is pretty cringy, but and she kind of kills them, but then he brings it back to life because, you know, he's him. It's so stupid. But
I forgot about his fucking fan club after the football fight.
They try to play a couple serious scenes where it's like the devotion of people and their emotions are what matter kind of thing. And it's like, then they just have him sing a really goofy song in the middle of the fight. And it's like, oh, stop. I'm cringing. Stop.
That sounds ridiculous.
It's pretty fucking ridiculous. But, holy. But, so he gets to her and he's like, okay, I'm going to kill you. And then he resurrects her. And she's still just like, no, you're still stupid, and I will never recognize you. And he says, okay, I kill you, and I resurrect you. He resurrects her as an entirely, like, different demon, basically, and she's not a pureblood anymore. And he's like, your view of this world is too biased and fucking stupid. Go live a day in someone else's shoes, fuck you. And just makes her an entirely different demon who is not a pureblood anymore, and just releases her into society. Like, what? Like, okay.
That's so weird.
It's so crazy. Yeah, I was like, that is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, but yeah, I would say
you really said grow and change yourself as a person.
Grow and change as a person. Yeah, that shit was crazy. But yeah, I think ultimately, despite probably having more obvious things to point at for it being bad, like, there's not really any fan service or anything, but there's, like, the animation is really bad in every scene that's not a fight, and the plot is somehow more in your face about being a power fantasy than most of them. But, again, it feels kind of heartfelt in the ways, like, its characters interact, and the main plot being about something that kind of matters, actually, is kind of cool. So, it definitely edges out How Not to Summon a Demon Lord.
Damn, there you have it, folks. Write that down.
Yeah. The seal of approval, 4 out of 10. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't say based on me watching both those. I probably would like this show more, but
right.
I didn't get to the actual plot part apparently, so my bad.
Yeah. A classic, honestly.
Dude, I'm not allowed to drop shows anymore, I guess.
Yeah, truly. Quit dropping them before they get almost interesting.
Yeah. Quit dropping them before they turn into the Matrix or put like 4 plot twists at once.
That one's just crazy. I cannot believe that happened. How can you drop like only 8 shows in your entire fucking life and one of them is just, it turns into the Matrix?
I don't know, man. I gotta go look at the other shows I've dropped. I'm getting paranoid.
Hidden gems, bro.
Let me see what else I have on here. Hypnosis Mike.
Division rap. That one.
What is the podcast on that one?
Nah, bro. Nah.
The Otome game show we talked about.
Oh, that one can't get interesting. There's no way.
I think I give it like a 5. I think both Zero. Right. I think Zero watched a little bit of it. We both thought it was pretty funny, so I just didn't really want to keep watching it. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
Platinum End. I'm never watching that. So.
Oh, that one's a treat for sure.
The Assassin Isekai show and the other seasonal podcast.
Oh my. Yeah, that one was hard to watch.
Shimonetta, I'm never watching that.
That show's pretty funny.
Summertime Renderer, not watching that.
Ugh. That show is over now, and I just keep seeing people be like, this was a hidden gem, and everybody looked over it, and it was actually really good.
And I say to them, seek help, read Higurashi. Good day.
Yeah, I say, seek help, try writing a story correctly.
Fucking Sword Reincarnation, that show was horrible.
That one was really bad. That one was crazy bad.
Let's see, Tomodachi Game, I don't know. Maybe. I read that one, I just didn't know if I really wanted to watch the anime. So.
Right, yeah.
And the other one was that Beast Tamer show I talked about in the other seasonal one. Another Isekai. That was not Isekai, it's just a fantasy, I guess.
But... Right, yeah. Jeez.
Which one of these shows are going to turn into the Matrix? Who knows?
I would say I would feel pretty safe about saying none of the above, but Can never know, man.
You can't look me in the eyes and tell me that there was any inkling that How to Raise Her Flag was going to turn out like that based off of the first 4 episodes.
Know, bro, I don't know.
There was no hint. That shit went off the deep end at like 0 to 100 and the fastest I've ever seen, apparently.
Yep. I don't know what to say, honestly.
Whatever, man. I'm just fucking... I give up. This anime shit's too hard. I'm going back to watching Mushishi.
That's all the time I've got for now. I've got to get back to playing Animal Crossing on my Nintendo 3DS.
We got to get back to watching His Eminence in Shadow.
The Eminence in Shadow Pog Champ. Yeah, I think definitely. So, Misfit at Demon Academy has 700,000 members compared to, what'd you say, How Not to Summon Demon Lord was like roughly 600,000?
Yeah, I think so. I already forgot. Yeah.
Very funny that the numbers are pretty similar, and yet the number of favorites are very much higher for this one. Like, there's almost 4K people who have Anos as a favorite, and 800 have Misha as a favorite, and that's about as many as have Diablo as a favorite, and he's the main character.
That's about as many people as the show is a favorite.
All right, yeah. So I think this definitely lends itself to my my narrative of this one's a little bit more heartfelt, and like the characters are a little bit cooler.
Yeah, but look at Elfen Lied actually.
Oh god, there's got to be
4 million members,
bro. I told you,
Jesus.
Shit's popular.
For what reason?
Yup. Yup. It had violence and romance at a time where people only watched violence and romance. And it didn't do either of them very good, but that didn't matter, apparently.
Sheesh.
Yeah, this is truly something. Well, if I have a closing thought then, I think as with any bad shows thing, it's always very fun to, like, it's very easy at a surface level to, like, recognize something as bad and just not try to engage with it whatsoever anymore. Just like, yeah, it's a bad show. I don't care. Maybe you finish it, maybe you don't. But I always find it very fun to, like, try as hard as I can to engage with these. And more often than not, like, in the case of this, like, Misfit of Demon King, I think I came out with, like, something out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I definitely feel like very slightly, even though it was a bad show overall, and I would not recommend it, I think my effort has rewarded me a little bit with something that was worth getting anything out of it, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say the same about my show, but, you know, more power to you.
Yeah, like, there's, like, a plot line in Elfen Lied that's decent,
yeah, I was like
Kurama, but, like,
I was able to recognize what was good in it, I think, so
right.
That's at least something, but it wasn't much.
Yeah, so I think the moral of the story with Bad Shows podcast is, you know, trying to engage with something is generally worth it. And, you know, you might come out of it with no respect for it whatsoever or get nothing out of it, but it's always fun.
At least have fun making fun of it.
Also true. Yep. So that's all I've got for now. You have any closing thoughts?
Don't watch Elfen Lied.
So true.
Or do. And if you do, you're allowed to tweet at Pokecall on Twitter and call him a name.
No, come on, man.
Yep.
Fuck. Better than watching Elfen Lied, watch Hazel's video, Why Did We Like Elfen Lied?
True.
Because that will summarize it in a much more interesting way. And we'll actually give more context on the show and the history of people liking and recommending it. I mean, I got recommended this show as late as fucking like 2012, right? Like, people were still saying, yeah, this is peak fiction, bro. You gotta watch this if you're an anime fan. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. All right. I think we're done here.
Yeah, I think we've reached our limit. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.